Otakuans, what's going on, y'all?
What's
Welcome
up,
back.
brothers?
It's my favorite episode of the channel. Favorite episode of the channel.
That
I'm
mid-season
kind of
review.
I'm kind of disappointed though. I feel like I didn't do my due diligence this season.
Oh, I thought you were about to say you disappointed with the season because it's been good.
I mean, yeah, it's been good. Don't get me wrong. I just feel like I don't know. There's been a lot of shows that have come out
Mhm.
and other cinematic actions, like live action shows, movies that dropped that I've kind of been like occupying my time. And because I said I was gonna do that whole wait until the end to binge the five, like I was in the middle of other shows, and so it was hard for me to pull away from those live action shows to go over and
I
start
don't,
watching an
I
anime.
don't experience that issue because I don't watch
I
nothing
know you
else.
don't. I know you don't. I know you don't.
Good.
Well, like you said, we're doing our mid-season review today. We appreciate everybody sticking around thus far. Please, again, like, subscribe, leave a comment, ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our future episodes. We are, again, mid-season review, so we're going to talk a little bit about what happened during these shows. So be sure you go back and watch our preseason review first. And, I mean, put this video on, mute it so you don't get any spoilers, but give us the view. You know what I'm saying? But there'll probably be a little bit of spoilers in here. But first, we're gonna hop into our news. There is nothing. Again, this is one of them days. I got like 5 things, like four, maybe and a half. They're not even four. It's like
Scraping the barrel.
two of them are like from the same show. So like it's like
As long as it's
three.
One Piece news, everybody gonna be happy.
It is well, it is One Piece news, unfortunately. But so the first thing we got is One Piece did do a collab with Jordans. They did the Air Jordans 4, so you get a little One Piece action there. He'll pop it up on the screen.
You know
Here
what that reminds me
somewhere.
of? Remember,
Mm.
what was that? 2 weeks ago when we were reading like those little fake ass weak ass hot takes. Animes made for black people. I mean, they're not doing the justice of arguing that point. So
They're not. Yeah, you're not helping.
let me get
You're
them.
not helping.
Let me get them Luffy
Why can't we
fives.
do? Why can't we do like a One Piece Sperry collab or something? Like, can you
They
stop?
probably exist. I mean, what was the last shoe? Was it like Reebok or something? It was something a little bit more
Oh, I was gonna say the
diverse.
last shoe we saw animated wise, and I was like, technically, it'd have been the con we went to. That dude who's doing the Air Force Ones made for
Like on
black
the
people. We need to
Converses and
stop.
stuff.
We need to stop.
It's for
Oh,
black.
this is getting worse because those were white Air Forces that he was doing.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
done. I'm done. Well, anyways, another thing in One Piece. So One Piece has caught up to Detective Conan. So, Detective Conan's been running for about 31 years. One Piece for about 27. And they hit their Detective Conan's been running longer than I've been alive.
Sheesh.
So, so
Damn.
about only by a year, but still. Yeah, but One Piece finally caught up. So other anime step your game up. I don't know what to tell you.
Is that a good thing for One Piece though? Like,
No, stop.
you caught up
Stop.
with a
Just
31-year-old
stop.
show.
Just stop, bro. Like wrap it up.
Hey,
The
we're
One
wrapping
Piece
it up,
isn't out
bro.
there. It's not there. It's not. It doesn't exist.
You want to see a real
Like
riot? Stop playing.
Luffy can imagine One Piece just never existed in the first place, and Luffy's just like, oh, okay, guys, I guess I'll just go home now, back to the Grand Blue.
He
Or
like
what
turns
is it?
around and looks at the camera like, gotcha. Yo, Luffy a fool. I'll be mad. We ride.
I'm not
We
gonna.
ride in the world. Fuck the streets.
He's about to go Gear 6, and they're like, all right, that wraps up all of One Piece.
Psych.
That wraps up all of One Piece.
Fucking thought.
See
That'll be
you
the
later.
biggest troll ever.
We're leaving it. He says we're leaving it up to viewers' imaginations about what happens next.
So, what do you want me to write on your tombstone? You want to leave that up to me too, or do you want to pick that out? Because nah, we're not doing that.
Oda getting old. If he does another 27 years, we're gonna have a problem.
Hey, his wife can pick it up. We good.
He probably got the One Piece himself. That's why he's so damn young doing this shit. All right. Danmachi and ReZero are back. So if you're a big Danmachi or ReZero fan, they are back. They went on a little hiatus. So go ahead and watch that. I know I need to catch up a little bit anyway, so I'm glad they are back.
I think
with Danmachi.
I read somewhere that ReZero, I believe, I'm pretty sure it was ReZero, but they said it took them a year and a half to just to animate that. I watched the episode. It was pretty good. Like,
really,
if they say it took them a year to like really like put the perfect finishing touches on that, I'm not
Yeah.
mad at, because out of
Eh,
most of the
you know.
episodes, when it comes to action from ReZero, usually
Yeah.
just him dying over and over again. But this was one of the best action packed episodes
Yeah.
of the whole
Cool.
series.
Well, the last thing I got confirmed by our boy David himself, our residential Jack Sparrow, is solo leveling did crash some six anime sites this weekend.
I had to say that.
People, yeah, well, you did. You
Dragon
did.
Ball Daima possibly
Nigga, stop.
crashed
Just stop.
6
Just stop.
websites this
Where's
weekend.
my hat? Because that's cap.
That's cap.
Nah. That's
Nah, Dragon Ball Daima had a nice premiere, and like
bro.
it had a like
No.
well waited for a moment.
Because it took Goku 30 years to do Super Saiyan 4 again in kid form.
2 decades. That's not important. He did it.
I was 2 the last time he did Super Saiyan 4. Okay, I don't care. I don't care.
Hey, it was good. I've been enjoying Dragon Ball Diamond, so
No,
it probably
it's
wasn't their
solo
fault, but
leveling.
it
It's
definitely was a
solo
good
leveling.
show. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not as good, but it was. If you're a Dragon
No,
Ball fan, definitely check it out.
you know what I just thought of?
What?
My first panel that I ever saw of solo leveling, that really got me not really interested, but more so like, oh yeah, I actually can't wait to see this show,
Mm.
was a panel that was shared in our anime group that we're on Facebook. And everybody, I mean, like hundreds and hundreds of people were like, I can't wait for this shit to happen. And it was the scene that happened actually yesterday, the episode that happened yesterday, where he's standing in the room for his re-examination, and
Mhm.
he's like, well, I guess the cat's out of the bag. And then he summons like 100 of his spirits, and then he's like,
What
I
can
can
you
also
do?
summon a I can also summon 100 more, you know. And then it showed like the A rank like guild leaders were like,
Oh
or the
yeah,
S
they were
rank guild leaders,
out in the hallway because
the
they can get
hallway.
like the energy coming from the doorway. They're like, what the
Yeah,
fuck is that?
you know what that also reminds me of is when Yuta stepped in Jujutsu Kaisen, when he stepped in the room with his
Mm.
cursed energy, his cursed spirit, and like the panda and all them were about to
Oh
attack
yeah.
him because of the evil aura that he was putting off. But
Hey.
anyways, that was like the first panel I ever saw of solo leveling before the anime even dropped. And I'm like,
Mm.
wow, I actually remember that panel, and now we're actually here in the show where he's just like erect,
I thought you were
you know?
erect. I thought you were talking about the one panel. Remember, we had a whole discussion on it where it was like, remember like the first episode and possibly second episode where everybody was
Oh
like
yeah.
bowing to the statues, and then you had the
Hmm.
3 statues,
Hmm.
and it was like some anime group of ours was talking about how
Yeah.
these animes are like the kings of
Hmm.
them. So
Yeah.
that was
I
one of them.
guess. Well, I guess technically that's been a meme for a very long time.
Mm.
So like, I guess
It was still a
technically,
manga. That meme was it was
yeah.
still
Oh
a
yeah, that
manga.
meme was out for a while. I remember seeing it. So I guess technically that'd be the first panel, but that was more of like the meme version
Mm.
of them bowing. But like, yeah, I remember just all them things popping up. And for some reason, when I saw the panel, I thought they were in a hallway, but I guess it's a big room. But whatever. I thought he was like walking through the hall,
Mm.
and I guess like the panel makes it look kind of weird. So in the anime, obviously it blows things up, bigger proportions. You can see it a little bit more.
Yeah.
In the panel, it looks like he's walking in a hallway, and the guild, I guess the testers, I didn't know they were testers at the time, were like, just show us what you can do, stop screwing around. And he was like, okay, and he like shot all his, you know, fucking resurrection sperm down the hallway, and they all just started like, but
I
I
can add
digress.
100
Either
more
way.
if you want. I think they said at the beginning of the episode that he had increased his shadow like the amount of shadows he can have in one time. So imagine he get to like 1,000
Yeah. I mean, he probably could.
taking over countries
Probably.
by himself.
That shit was hella funny when he was like, I thought I had 3 war orcs. And the other one was like, and he was like, oh,
Oh
yeah, I
yeah,
did. I
yeah, yeah.
launched him into the ceiling. I
Shit,
forgot.
damn it.
I forgot I did that. My bad.
There's so many low key funny
Oops.
moments. It's so left. He was like, oh yeah, I did
And
do that.
I straight up started laughing too when he was like, oh, all my summons are dying. These people must be really strong. And then
Mm.
he gets down there and then just one shots all of them. And I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. They're like,
No,
he's
when
about to
he
make.
fucking walked past old dudes again, the 2 S rank, the leaders of the
Mhm.
guilds, because they're like, okay, we're gonna celebrate him and like welcome him in. He's like, hey, welcome. He's like, I don't got time for this guy today. They're like, the fuck is she doing? Oh, dude's
Yeah,
like, why
they're
is
like,
he so
well,
fast?
let's give you a ride. Let's give you a ride home so you can get. He's like, I'm good.
I don't need
And they're
that.
like, he's like, I couldn't even fucking see him. Like,
One dude couldn't even perceive his movement and thought he used
yeah,
magic, while the other one
yeah,
was like, no, he's just that fucking fast.
yeah. So I think the tiger guy is an A rank. The wolf guy, the
Oh
one
no,
with
no,
the
they're
long
both
hair
fast.
and the claws. I don't think so
Mm-hmm.
because they said that the other guild master was an S rank. I know the dude with the glasses, the fire. He's like, what's his name from fucking um
Levi.
yeah, from Full Metal Alchemist.
Mm-hmm.
But they said he's an S rank, but they never clarified that the wolf guy was an S rank. I thought he was only A.
Nah, he's one of the 10 S
He's one of the
ranks.
10.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well,
Definitely,
shit.
definitely, definitely.
I know the dude with the glasses was like, "Oh, that's some impressive magic," or the dude with the glasses is like, "Oh, he's super fast," and then the dude with the thing is like, "What the fuck?" Like, couldn't even fucking see him. Anyways, all right, back to the show. So, mm, I got notes. I got notes,
I got
and
notes.
it's only actually the majority of my notes are actually only for this first one, which is kind of upsetting because I wanted to talk about this last, but I'll get my notes out of the way this first time
I've learned
around,
my lesson
anyways.
with notes. When I do too much notes, I start sounding like a robot. I just got to throw the notes out the window. So I got some
Well,
things to remind me, but I'm not going to read it.
That's that's fair. That's fair. I did a paragraph for just this one, but the rest of them are like sentences. Sentences. Either way. So, all right, guys, we're hopping into our 2025 first season of anime right here. This is our mid-season review. Again, for those of y'all who haven't been here before, usually what we do is a what we're looking forward to the most before a next season of anime comes out, and then we'll watch either most of those shows that we talked about or a good bit of them, maybe losing one or two of them. And then we do a mid-season review at episode 5 or 6. We give our thoughts on it, talk about it a little bit, and then at the end of the season, we do an end-season review, hot or drop. This show sucks, this show's ass, or this show's great, S tier, and then we move on with our merry lives. So we got about 12 for you today, and the first one we are going to be talking about is the I left. So actually, I'm already thinking about what I'm going to say for this, but so it's I left my A rank party to help my former students reach the dungeon depths.
Mm.
So, brief little synopsis. This story is about a young man. I guess technically now he's a rank, but he was a B rank when pretty much at the beginning of the show, who was a part of a hero party, and he ends up leaving that party because trope. He doesn't get treated well. He gets paid shit, and they take him for granted because we know in most of these shows, whenever they take the healer or they take the I was gonna say talker, like
Like a appraiser?
notorious. Yeah, well, no, they take the guy who buffs them the most,
Oh, yeah.
who cooks
The
for them,
support
who
of the party, they
yeah, the
usually take
support
him for
class.
granted.
Yeah, they take the support class for granted. So he ends up leaving and going to start fresh, start anew, and he ends up going to start anew. Ends up meeting one of his students. Well, I guess there's three of them, but this one of his students runs up to him and says, "Wow, like, hey, it's been a while. I haven't seen you in forever." And he's like, "Oh, hey, how's everything going? Are you still doing well? This and that." And she's like, "Yeah, what are you doing here?" And he's like, "I'm actually looking for a new party to join. I left my former party." She's like, "Well, shit, why don't you join our party?" He's
Mm.
like, "What?" And he's like, "Well, fuck it." And they literally jump to the next scene of him sitting at the table with all of three of his students who used to be his student. Well, I think one of them wasn't though, because one of them's his age. One of them's 20.
Yeah,
So I
the
think
short
the two of them.
magic
Yeah,
girl, Mage, she's the only one who
yeah,
wasn't.
yeah. So his two students and their other like the healer who wasn't a
Mm.
student. But and the girls pretty much say like, "Are you sure you want to join us? Like you're a B rank, we're D rank. It's not going to be much." He's like, "Well, I'd really this would be a nice change of pace for me. Plus, it is what it is. I'll help you achieve your goals. You let me, kind of live a little bit more comfortably. And it is what it is. Plus, I'm strong, so if you need me, I'm there for you." And they pretty much hit it right off. Start exploring dungeons, things like that. So it kind of gets down to a point where they end up he ends up teaching them like while they're in dungeons and actually end up meeting um different creatures or monsters that they technically aren't supposed to meet or fight because just like another tropey show, like you get the main character of adventurers that are like, "We're just gonna go to floor 2," and then the behemoth shows up and they're like, "Why is this monster on floor 2?"
Mm.
Like that fucking happens. getting into my notes because I was going to talk about something else that's also prevalent in this world, but it's in my notes for a reason. So I started off this show by thinking it was kind of childish. Like it seemed very Pokemon Digimon esque, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So like it seemed very Toonami or Cartoon Network y for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe, and that was just my initial when I just first started watching it. But the more I started watching it, it did turn more anime to me. Like I started seeing the guilds and the adventuring. I was like, okay, maybe that was just like, I think it may be the first, like, because when I first watched the first episode, I watched the intro song, not on purpose. I was doing something and it just
Not
found it's,
purpose.
yeah, I didn't hit the skip intro button,
Mm-hmm.
but like, it just seemed really like let's go friendship and I'm like
Is that how it
what the
went?
f-? I was like what the fuck is this?
Uh-huh.
And so I kind of turned it off at that point, but I started watching more of it, and it got to a point where I'm like this is more anime.
Yeah.
I gave it a bad rap in the beginning. um it really, the show is really about a dude just teaching his students in a dungeon again. Like it just boils back down to he joined their party, and now we're just watching this dude teach his students again in a dungeon about new skills.
Mm.
Now they do end up fighting more monsters. He does end up getting promoted to rank A. They get promoted to rank C because they end up fighting a really really big bad monster. And it ties into one of the aspects that I actually really like about this show is the live streaming portion. So
Mm.
the adventurers in this show live stream.
Yeah.
So they live stream all their, so think of it like Destiny, for example, the video game where like they have the little orb that's above their head or like above them, and they you get to watch adventurers fight and you post it on the internet kind of like YouTube.
Mm.
And the more popular you are, the more quests you get, the more requests you get, the more like you could post tutorials about fighting this, and that. I actually really liked that.
Mm.
That aspect of it. That's something fresh and new out of these Adventure Guild animes. Not that I needed anything fresh or new because I like Adventure Guild animes, but that was something that was like a bonus. That's a bonus for me.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And the show ended up getting better because not only were they weak adventurers, but they don't show them as useless. They actually like, oh shit, we actually work together like really, really well. And then you end up obviously getting glimpses at his old party who have now realized that they suck without him. And they're like, let's try to get him back. And he's like, fuck no, leave me alone.
Mm.
Um, it is, I say the one turn off for me is just the fact that every time they go out, it's literally just us watching him teach them again. Like it's like we just want you to join our party and like, you'll help us out, blah blah blah. But he's like, all right, rule number one, do this. Rule number two, do that. And I'm like, bro, come on. Like,
Mm.
you know, I will give this show an A because I think it is decent. I gave it a bad rap in the beginning. I really, really I think the live stream thing kind of set it over the edge. I thought that was a really good touch, a really good ad. And they actually do a lot of more fighting than I thought they would. And they do have a goal. There is a set goal that is put into the show. A lot of these shows, they don't the our protagonist doesn't really have like a goal in mind. He
Mm.
just is just adventuring. Um, like even if it's pussy, like I don't care. There's a lot of the time there's no
As long as
goal.
you're striving for something, I don't care.
Something, but there's apparently there's the edge of the abyss or something like that where
Mm.
he's trying to get to, and to see the edge of the world and you need permissions from guild master and like this and that. So he has a goal. So I'll give this show an A because it's actually entertaining. It
Mm.
is pretty entertaining to watch. So, and the dude's fairly strong. I mean, all the girls are strong. They're not useless or anything of the nature. So, and again, the live streaming thing really just kind of bumped it up for me. So,
Definitely,
what
definitely.
do you think? What do you think about it?
I mean, I'm in I would say I'm in the same boat as you.
Yeah.
I don't think I think you may have just not seen the most recent episode. The most recent episode, they take it a step further in which they get permission to go to that dungeon, the edge of the abyss, and whatever, and they ended up
Oh,
having to work with his old party because again, they keep on
I
trying to
have
show
not
the old
I have
party
not seen
trying
that
to
episode yet. Yeah.
pilfer him. So they actually get to work with him. They have like a whole like confrontation. So I
Yeah.
think again, I agree. In the beginning of the show, it seemed very tropey, and
Yeah.
it's an adventure anime. A lot of times,
Yeah.
it's hard to get away from tropey because those are
Yeah.
the best tropes. That was the reason why we watch it. But
If it ain't broke, don't
what
fix it.
set it apart was the whole live streaming thing. Also, not just live streaming, but well, a part of live streaming, they get brand deals. So there's like this
Yeah,
company
they get
who gave
sponsored.
them, yeah, they sponsored them, gave them a whole bunch of new gear, weapons, and everything.
Hmm.
Sponsored to get her, the Magic Girl, a new staff.
Yeah,
So like they're so set up, and let's be real, it's because they're cute, they're young,
yeah.
they're out here making like doing big things
They got an
as a
OP.
newbie party,
Yeah,
and then they have an OP guy who used to be part of the best guild party or the best
yeah.
adventuring party in the guild, and is now the leader of their party and became an A rank. So all eyes are on them. I would say
Hmm.
the reason that being the whole live streaming, the whole sponsor
Hmm.
deals, that is what sets it apart from other
Oh
adventuring
yeah,
anime. It could very easily
absolutely.
be a B without it, and because of
Yeah,
that, I agree. Definitely going to be an
yeah.
A rank.
I mean, they got Nike brand deals and fucking Adventure
In
Girl
fact,
animes.
one beginning of one
Like,
episode, it was like they started off as if it was a commercial. Like I was
yeah,
like, what am I watching? But it was a commercial of the girls like showing off their new uniforms and gear and shit. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, okay. Hell yeah. So that
yeah.
definitely
It's
made me
it's dope.
remember it.
Yeah, you said exactly what I said. I mean, it wasn't. I don't really need a lot to be added to an Adventure Guild anime besides, you know, just adventuring and fighting, but you can really fuck up the you can really fuck up the formula trying to add something,
Yeah,
and
by
they
adding too
actually
much.
added something really good, and it actually worked out really well, and they're
Hmm.
not sitting on their laurels of it being like futuristic cyberspace. They're like, nah, just a little orb, you can watch it on a little tablet or on a big screen. It is what it is, like it kind of like a video game. I thought
Hmm.
that was pretty cool. So all right, the next one we got is I may be a guild receptionist, but I'll solo a dungeon boss to clock out on time. This show, actually, I really like this show. My wife loves this show.
Hmm.
So the show is about a young lady who works as a guild receptionist. She all she wants to do is clock out on
Just
time.
get out on
She just want
time.
to get off work. She just don't, and it's hilarious because she never does. And she says the reason why is because nobody can solo, or nobody, not solo, but nobody can beat their dungeon bosses. And if the bosses aren't finished after, if she sends a team out and they don't finish their raid,
Hmm.
then she has to stay at work. And so it's like she's stuck there doing paperwork all the time. And even when they do finish, she still has paperwork to do. And so she ends up, coming up like I think the first episode, we get her transforming into what's she called? I forgot what her nickname is. It's like
Uh,
the Executioner or
yeah, the
something like that.
Executioner.
Yeah. So she ends up transforming into this thing called the Executioner, which is a very mysterious adventurer that nobody knows. All they know is that this person solos bosses.
Hmm.
Like she just goes into a dungeon and she solos bosses. And we obviously know that it's her. She's like, I need to clock out on time. Like I'm sick of it. I'm sick of doing this, and that. Well, she get caught immediately. She's been trying to keep it under wraps. The fact that she's this because she wants to live a nice, cushiony life, get off on time, go home, this, and that. But the hero from one of, I guess they haven't really said it, but technically a famous party,
Hmm.
because the guild master is constantly asking that party to do things. So I mean, I'm assuming they're a pretty
Probably like the
famous
top
party.
top parties.
Yeah, they're like Silver Fangs or something like that.
Exactly.
The
You
leader,
remember everything.
yeah, the
Silver
leader,
Fang.
is that their name?
Yeah,
Oh,
Silver
yeah,
Fang.
interesting. The leader of Silver Fangs, who is luckily and thankfully not a dick, because I was expecting him to be one. He has night vision, like eyes, like he can see in the dark. Like one of his skills are like night vision, and she turns her head and he sees her, and he's like, "I got you. I know who you are." And he ends up seeing the guild receptionist, and he's like, "I know it's you. I need your help." And she's like, huh? And this show is funny too. Like her mannerisms and like her internal monologue is just comedy.
Hmm.
And she's like, fuck. He knows who I am. He knows. I don't know what you mean by that, sir. And he's like, I know it's you. I know it's you. And she's like, let's step outside. And then she just
She's like, I'm
beats the
gonna
shit out
kill
of him.
you. I'll kill you to
She
keep my
beats the
secret. I'm
shit.
not playing with
Like
you.
I'm not. This isn't a game. This ain't no.
You
Was it
got
from
me,
Snowfall?
peekaboo nigga. What the fuck you
I
thought this
built
was?
this brick by brick.
Brick by brick.
I'll be damned if I let you tear it down just because you don't like the way another nigga talk. No, but she's like, I will fucking, I will murder you. Like, keep my secret. And he's like, why? Like, you're amazing, like this and that. He's like, you know what? He said, fine, I'll keep your secret. Well, I mean, technically, first she like pulls out her is it Daima skill? No,
Dia, Dia.
Dia skill.
Mm.
She pulls out her skill, and he's like, "Is that a Dia skill?" And she's like, "I don't know what the fuck you're saying. I'm gonna hammer you to death," because she has a giant war hammer. And he's like, "All right, well, my goal is to now get you on my side and to work with me."
Mm.
And she's like, "You can keep trying, but I'm just gonna fucking kill you." And then she goes back to her job. And then, as I knew this would happen, she just gets roped in, like
Mm.
just roped in. He's like, just come do this one thing with us. You can actually clock out on time. And then they end up getting the guild master involved. And he's like, if you help them, I will, because I forgot how the guild master found out. I forgot exactly how he found out, but I think they got attacked in the city. They got attacked in the city.
Mm.
And she had to show her Dia skill without her uniform on.
Mm.
And so she ended up, because the city got destroyed, a rock fell on her house. And she was like,
Oh
I
yeah.
still had more. She said, I still got mortgage to pay on that
I mean, she got to
fucker.
stay with Silverfang and they big ass
Yeah.
bed for a little bit, so that was cool.
Yeah. And then the guild master comes up and he's like, hey, if you help them out, I'll hire 20 more guild receptionists. You can get off on time. And
That was a
she's like
lot.
that nigga in the yellow suit.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah, let's do it. And so she ends up going to help them out at this tower, and they end up beating people up, this, and that. And she's like, all right, well, I'm leaving. I did what I was supposed to do. I'm out. I'm straight up out. I'm gonna go back to work. And he's like, well, take this, and he gives her the necklace or bracelet, whatever the fuck it is, that says this is tied to the life force of every member of the team, and if anybody is in mortal danger, it'll blink or
Mm.
it'll flash or whatever the fuck. She's like, all right, cool, calm, whatever. I don't care. She shoves it in her pocket, ends up going back, and they end up finding out. We end up kind of getting a monologue of what a Dia skill is. And I think it may be from that Dia god. I'm not exactly sure if he's the one that tells us, but essentially, a Dia skill is a skill that not barely anybody adventurer has. Apparently, there's the goddess Dia who will grant these special skills to people who need them or people in need.
Mm.
And really, the only ones who have those skills are the gods and the very few people on the planet that may have a Dia skill. And there's bad gods too, which we end up coming to find out. Her party's Silver Fang, while she's at work, of course, running overtime because she's not getting off any early. The entire show, she never gets off on time.
Yeah, it never
Um,
happens.
no, it never happens. She's working overtime, and her party ends up running into the boss. They think it's the dungeon boss of the tower. This dungeon boss actually turns out to be a Dia god, like, or not a god, a Dia god, a dark god,
Mm.
which is one of the gods that and can give people Dia skills or take the skills, whatever it is. We end up finding out that this god, yeah, has been massacring parties, one party after another. They just been coming in. He's been murdering them and stealing their skills. So, and stealing their skills in the bad way, not like I'm gonna steal it and use it like licked. More like when I steal it, it's gone. You
Mm-hmm.
can't get it back. So we thought, of course, but we end up finding out later that that's not true for one reason. But and he's just murdering these parties. They end up running into him and they are getting their ass beat, like because he's literally a god with many many Dia skills. And our boy Silver Fang about to die, and she's like sitting there with another receptionist, and she like looks in her pocket, and the shit's blinking, and she's like, "Why is it blinking?" And then she remembers what he said, and she's like, "Fuck! Like I need to get there." She ends up sprinting there, so on and so forth, getting past some guards, and she gets there, ends up fighting the Dia boss. It's a good fucking fight, by the way. This fight's pretty good, and ends up beating him, and he's like, there's more gods to come and this and that. You think I'm the only dark god on the planet and this and that, which I love that because that shows us that there's going to be more, more of these big bads that we're going to have to fight. Old girl ends up getting her powers back, the one that he stole, good, all good, all good. And that's kind of where I wrapped up. If I remember, that's kind of where I wrapped up at the end of this, is her pretty much just kind of solidifying her place with the Silver Fang. I mean, she's still kind of a receptionist, but like,
Oh no, she don't. She
she's
has
like,
no interest in being part of Silverfang.
Yeah,
So
I mean, yeah,
even after all these events, she still
uh,
turns him down. Like it becomes painfully clear that the
oh
leader
yeah,
of Sea Fang is like in
Lo-
love with her.
in love with her. Yeah,
Like
he says
he
it.
keeps trying to get her to go on dates. He
Yeah,
finally not tricks her, but ultimatum her into going on
yeah,
a date with him, saying that he'll help her out with her
yeah,
overtime. So I feel like at that point, so after the fight with
yeah,
everything, it slows down again. While some things are still
yeah.
happening,
It
but
slows down a
it's
bit.
kind of, I guess it's a transition period to the
Yeah,
next main conflict.
bit.
So
Yeah.
just looking at that point to the rear, I think was fairly good.
Oh
It's
yeah,
definitely when we first like talked about it, I'm like, oh, this is a interesting concept. I will to solo any dungeon boss to get off on time.
yeah,
I thought it was corny, but I mean,
yeah,
I watch any show that has a long ass name that sounds corny,
yeah,
so that's why I watched it, and I was pleasantly surprised with it because she's super
yeah,
OP. She's not like
yeah.
in her head about it, and even though
But
she can pretty much beat
yeah,
every other adventure, she still is like, I don't want to
you
be an
know,
adventurer. I just want to get off on time.
yeah. What I loved about this show was also not the fact that she's super OP, but like it still shows the struggle. She's not one-shotting anything. You know what I'm saying? Like she's super strong, don't get me wrong, and she still beats every boss, but it takes a couple swings. You know what I'm saying?
I
And
mean, to be
I think
fair, the big bosses maybe like two, three swings, but she's
but
still
either
knocking
way,
their ass out.
yeah, true. I'm not saying that, but like even with the dragon in the beginning, when we thought she was just gonna hit it up top the head and it was gonna
Mm,
be done, she still had to run in there, slice his legs. She still had to hit it with the pointy end of her anvil. Like she still had to like do a little work.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She still beat its ass. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't like one of those incomprehensible. I'm like 1/10th your size and I can
Mm.
still swing and knock you a million miles. She's like, no, I have to fight you because of my size and your size. I have to fight you the way that would probably end up going down
So
anyways.
like the
You know?
one hit kill sister, every she only hits you one time, she defeats every enemy. I can
Yeah,
see that. It's
I
not
don't.
that, so it's better
Yeah,
because she
yeah.
actually has to put in that effort.
She fights the way you would think somebody would have to fight if this thing was the size of a fucking Chrysler building. Like I can't just jump a million stories. I mean, she does. Don't get me wrong. She jumps around everywhere, but she still has to hit you a few times, find
Hmm.
that weak spot, this and that, and she wins every time. She's OP as fuck. Don't get me wrong. And then with the Dark God, like she was beating his ass, but then she had to pull out some extra juice. And this is within the first 5 episodes, which means like we got a good fight without her just literally soloing like 1v1ing everything on the planet. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? It gave us a little bit more realism. I know it's a fucking anime, but like it gave us more realism of like even if I am super OP, I still got to put in a little bit of work. Like it's not I'm not One Punch Man. You know what I'm
Agreed,
saying?
agreed.
So um,
I'm putting
this
it
is
at a high A. I'm not thinking it's below our last one.
it's almost S to me.
Almost S,
Almost
but I
S.
don't think it's S. I think it's
Yeah,
the top tippity top of A.
yeah, I'll give you that. I can
It
give you that
has
one.
great potential to move that stuff. Let's be real. But
Yeah,
so
yeah,
far
yeah.
with what happened and then where they are now, that's why I put it as A.
Yeah, I give you that. I can give you that 100%. I don't think there's anything that goes above it in the A category though,
Hmm.
until the S's obviously, but like nothing in A. All right, so next we got Sakamoto Days. So I only watched a few episodes of this. I'll give you a brief little synopsis, and then David, you can take over the rest of it because I'm not caught up to five yet.
Hmm.
But Sakamoto Days is about an assassin, the strongest assassin in the world. He was revered. He's like the Yellow Flash. You see him run, you're not getting anywhere past him. Well,
Fact.
this assassin, excuse me, ends up falling in love, getting married, getting fat and nasty, having a kid, and end up running a convenience store down the street. They have one rule. The rule in the family now is to not kill anybody. You cannot kill.
Hmm.
Well, a young man ends up coming to call for him who is also an assassin of the same organization who is sent to actually kill him, but ends up not falling in love with him, but like falling in love with his lifestyle. Like he fall in love with his life. I was gonna say fall in love with him, but we're not watching the same Sakamoto
We're
Days.
not
No,
watching the same one.
maybe I'm watching different. Wow, knew I shouldn't have clicked on that link. But he ends up falling in love with the lifestyle. He's like, I'm not really a killer at heart, anyways, and I love this dude. This dude is one of my like mentors. Like I learned everything from him. It was I'm pretty sure it was his previous partner,
Yeah.
anyways. And he was like, I learned everything from this dude. He has a beautiful family, a nice life, this and that. Plus, this dude, it's a little supernatural. He can read people's minds. He
Mm-hmm.
has telekinetic, well, not telekinetic, because then he can like move things with his hand, but he can. He's not an empath either. I forgot what the actual term is, but excuse me.
Telepath.
Yeah, telepath,
Mm.
where he can read your mind. And it's funny because every time he's gonna do something that threatens his lifestyle, he sees Mr. Sakamoto like about to fucking like kill him in his thoughts,
He
and it's fucking
pushes
hilarious.
his murderous intent.
Mm,
He thinks about his murderous intent, and then he sees it.
yeah,
Him literally
yeah,
dying. He's like,
yeah, yeah. He's like, stop thinking about that.
think about killing
But
me.
he ends up coming to try to kill him before he falls in love with the lifestyle. But
Mm.
and Mr. Sakamoto, our protagonist, ends up fighting back with like pencils, like Pop Tarts, and like all kinds of shit in the store just to like beat him. And he's still OP, even if he's fat. He's still OP as fuck.
Mm.
And finding out that the Assassins Guild is like, no, like you need to kill him, or we're just gonna. He's like, just kill me, just take my life. I'm not gonna kill him. He has a family, this, and that. And as they're about to kill him, our boy Mr. Sakamoto shows up, ends up whooping their ass. But you can't kill. You can't kill. Wife said it. Can't kill. Won't kill. Um, and where I ended up is now the old partner, the kid, is now working at the convenience store with him. And they end up running into a girl in Chinatown. I'm assuming it's Chinatown. It makes the most sense. Running away from the Chinese triad, who she's like a martial artist or something. She stole like a key, so
Mm.
I believe it's a key. And they're trying to get it back. They end up helping her out, fight off the mobsters that are coming for her, and um, that's pretty much as far as I got in Sakamoto Days. And just from what I've watched, it's a pretty good show. It's an A because I haven't gotten any further. Like
Mm.
I've just haven't. I've been trying to catch up on so many other shows, but so far it's an A. I think it's a really good concept. I think it's pretty funny.
Mm.
Um, uh, Again, you know me, I'm more on the magical power supernatural side of things. So
Mm.
like, unless it was like Tokyo Revengers, like which is a very rare find for me, the realistic just mob assassins type thing just doesn't really like. You love Spy Family, for example. I like it, but it's not anything crazy because it's just like spies and
Mm.
kung fu artists. Like it's not. It's like real shit, and I'm like, if I want to watch real shit, I'll go watch a live TV show. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So, it's an A because I just think it's funny. It has like a lot of good comedy in it. The fighting is really good, and I think the way it's like he's like a funny John Wick to me. Like he's fat and he fights in some of the funniest fucking ways possible. And when he picked up the pencil, for example, and like was fighting off those dudes with the pencil, I was thinking of John Wick is like with a fucking pencil. He killed the dude with a pencil. But I think he's like a funny fat John Wick, and I like that concept. So for me, it's an A because I haven't seen it, but I'll let you rank it, and I'll put it there because I haven't
Okay.
gotten any further.
I fuck with that. I fuck with that. I'm gonna go ahead and put this one as an S,
Okay.
as a low S. I think as it comes to S's, this is probably the
Mm,
lowest of them. Um, from what you have seen so far, you pretty much have the concept.
mm,
More fights happen. He
I'm
fights
assuming.
pretty much every episode. He fights more assassins who are being sent after him, finding out that pretty much the whole world is now after him. So you get random assassins who just pop up at the store. I think the best parts of the show is, of course, Sakamoto fighting. We
Mm,
mentioned multiple times of his chubbiness. He has a way of getting rid of it. There's one episode where he nearly it looks like he's about to lose to somebody from his past, another assassin, and he just comes about the rebel as skinny Sakamoto again and beats the everlasting fuck out of this guy. So the
I mean,
fighting is
they have the
amazing.
supernatural aspect in the show, so I'm assuming like that would kind of make sense that he could do
Mm.
that. You know what
And
I'm
then
saying?
afterwards, after the fight's over, you see him like eating bags of chips, and then the end of the episode, he's fat again. So the fighting is amazing. Like the
Yeah, that's cool.
choreography, the choreography with his actual fights in
Choreography.
your choreography. Thank you. I knew I was saying it wrong. And he's the master of weapon of opportunity. Like
Oh
you
yeah.
saw it from the first episode, but it's
Hmm.
like that all the time. Like
One
he
mind
can
anyway.
beat your ass with anything. He can, long as he has something at his disposal. He can block bullets. He can stop you in your tracks. He can render you unconscious. Like there's one episode where he's like being attacked by spies while he's out at the amusement park with his family and obviously the girl and the boy that you already met, and they're like actively trying to stop assassins from
Mhm.
getting him while also keeping that fact from the wife and daughter.
Yeah.
So the fight is good, but the next best thing, even above the fighting, is how funny the show is. Like the
She's like,
interactions is
did you kill
hilarious.
anybody? And he's like shaking his jiggly chin. He's like, no. And she's like,
Hilarious.
you know what I said? I will divorce you. I will
Hmm.
fucking leave you. He's like, and then the, I think it was the partner. He was like, no, but we, and he had the mental image of him killing him again. And he's
Hmm.
like, never mind.
Yeah, that and the shit like that be happening. So and it's just like it's not something you're like, oh, this is about to happen. It just happens, and it's just hilarious when it happens.
Yeah.
Like there was one point I think in one of the more recent episodes where he's like talking to because the wife ends up finding out
Yeah.
about what's going on eventually,
Yeah.
and he's talking to like
I
the wife,
assumed.
and he's like, oh, the mind reader. He's like, oh, how did y'all meet? Like he's so in love with you. Like how did you even manage to get him? So she's like telling him like a shortened
Yeah.
version, but she's thinking about it. So because she's
Mhm.
thinking about it, he's reading her
Yeah.
mind. So we see like the whole
Yeah. Interaction.
the whole interaction of him meeting her, falling in
Yeah.
love with her, shit every single
Yeah.
time. And then all of a sudden he's standing there and he just dies. And then everything comes back again, and Sakamoto's just staring at him. He's like, "Stop killing
Yeah.
me!"
Remember that? Yeah. I
So he
remember
does
that.
this multiple times. Like, and
I like to think it was about to
Is
get
a
to a
man.
sex scene.
No sex scenes. Sakamoto is a man of very few words. So
Oh
when
yeah.
he does talk, he usually thinks about it, and we just hear of his what he's saying through the mind
Internal
reading.
monologue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But he keeps all his dangerous shit in his head, just so the guy can hear him. While he keeps all the safe stuff and the fun things, and I
Yeah.
need to get new noodles. He says those things around his wife because he just doesn't want to upset her. So
Yeah.
I think this show's really good, and I think
Yeah.
it's leading up to something even better.
Yeah.
It's
I can see that.
we heard about the show before it even came out when they
Oh
announced
yeah.
that it's coming, and
Mhm.
I feel like every time they do that, I need to keep my ear to the ground and appreciate every moment because there's a reason why they're
Yeah.
telling us a year ahead that hey, this is coming. So
Yeah.
it hasn't, in my opinion, it hasn't disappointed. I can see why
It's good.
someone would be like, this is really good, but what's next?
Yeah.
I think the really good is just done to perfection, and that's why I'm
It's because
giving it low S.
we're seeing a slice of life of somebody who's being hunted.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you can get really wrapped up in him just working a convenience store, but you forget about the fact that this nigga's fighting every episode. Every episode he's gonna do it because people are coming for him.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Like
like Fat
actually trying
John
to
Wick.
kill him. This isn't
Yeah,
like
this
some
is yeah.
funsies.
This is Fat John Wick with a rule that he can't kill and his wife is still alive.
Fat John Wick is a factual statement. He's literally
Like,
the Fat John Wick.
which reminds me, when the fuck is that anime dropping? They've been saying that for a year now. No, don't do that. Don't do that to me.
Just when the Naruto new episodes are coming out,
Don't do that.
the
Yeah.
same season.
Which might we got to talk about that fucking Witcher movie that dropped. Jesus Christ. Anyways, they grasping at straws, my nigga. Anyway,
Next week.
moving on.
Next
We're
week.
yeah, next week because oh my god, they just out of control. All right, S, I give you that. I'm gonna watch it though. This isn't something I've dropped. I'm gonna go back
Oh
and
yeah.
hit it up. So, all right. So the next one is I'm a noble on the brink of ruin, so I might as well try mastering magic. I have not watched the show,
Mm.
so you can go ahead and take this one away.
This one is an isekai. Of course, however
We're
old he
gonna say S.
was.
I was like, damn, you love the
Oh
show.
no, no. I mean, no, it's not
Oh
S.
god.
I
Oh
think
god, no.
I think a lot of the shows were A's. So you're gonna hear me say A a
Mhm.
lot. So I
Yeah.
think this is an A. Esekai, he was brought into his world. You can put it at the bottom of A. That works for me.
Oh, that's not
He
too bad.
was brought into Esekai into this world, and of course he's part of a noble family. He's like the eighth son, so he's
Mhm.
not like the next in line to be the leader. But this family, like how royalty is set up in their world, you have first
Mhm.
generation royalty, second generation royalty. Well, first generation, everything else. If you're first
Mhm.
generation, it means whatever you did earns you your royalty position. If you're
Mm,
second generation, meaning your father or grandfather, they were royal because of something that they
yeah.
did, then obviously you're still a noble. But after three generations of, I believe it was three, after three generations of
Okay.
somebody in your family didn't do something to earn nobility, then you can lose your nobility. So I'm a noble at the brink of this of destruction is the whole point.
Fun fact, did
Mhm.
you know that in the UK, this kind of is related, so just let me cook. In the UK, if you're a noble family or a rich, like a wealthy family, like known, like say you're a Worcestershire or whatever, and you're just like noble,
Mhm.
whenever you die, your inheritance every generation is split in half with the government.
Hmm.
Like every generation, if like say I was super wealthy, my sons, when I die, my inheritance would be split in half. Half of my belongings go to the government and half of them go to them, and then it would be up to them to grow back up to where I was or even beyond that, because when they die, when they have kids, half of that gets split
Yeah.
and goes to the government, and it just keeps going and going and going.
Hey,
Yeah.
actually, for a monarchy, that kind of makes sense because we don't just, I mean, some current events, but we don't speak politics. You don't want people sitting in these positions forever. Like, what makes you royal? Why are you here?
Yeah. What
what are
makes you
you
special?
contributing to society?
which which it kind of makes sense because like it still gives my kids wealth, but
Mm-hmm.
they still need to work, and if they don't want to be broke in two generations, they got to work back up to what I had and
Mm-hmm.
beyond to
Exactly,
even
exactly.
be good. You know what I'm saying? So like, I mean, there's been plenty of royal families who are nothing now because the kids never worked to get back up, and they just got halved. So fun fact, I just wanted to point that out.
No, no,
But
no,
go
no.
ahead.
That's actually super relevant. Like that's the setting of this world. So when he's
Yeah.
coming in, his father is like I think he's on that third generation now. So his
Hmm.
brother, the one who's next in line, is trying to do something that's going to um, earn him a seat at nobility to start the
Yeah.
whole process over for another three generations. But
Yeah.
he can't. He's kind of a. He's not like he's a fuck up, but he's under so much pressure that he hasn't been able to find anything. In the times that he has tried to do something, he went over and above out of jealousy, out of whatever. But going
Yeah.
back to our main character, he has decided, hey, I'm the sixth son. I'm not next in line.
Yeah.
So I need to make a life for myself, establish my future. And in this
Yes,
world,
it
hey,
gets.
a good way
Hold
of
up.
establishing a future is becoming an adventurer. So
Yeah.
he decides, hey, I'm gonna practice my magic. We know the trope. And if you start at a young age, you become more powerful. He starts at a young age, practices his magic, becomes powerful, ends up running into some shady character who gives him a cheat code, a ring that allows him to add every
Relic. Yeah.
not relic, what like a spell book. What do they call those? Like a
Uh,
tome,
uh,
like a magic tome.
a
So
grimoire.
yeah, grimoire. So every in this
Yeah.
world, there's you learn magic by reading a grimoire. You practice it until you've mastered that spell.
Hmm.
Then you no longer need the grimoire to use it. But with
Mm,
his ring, it allows him to store every grimoire he finds and he touches, opens up. It allows him to
oh,
store the information, so he never needs to truly master it.
that's
Nor
dope.
in this world, you have to hold the grimoire. If you haven't mastered it, then as
Yeah.
long as you're holding it, then you can use the spell.
Yeah.
It's on
Yeah.
his ring. So he can pretty much
This
master all
reminds
these
me of Booty
spells,
Shorts
all these
kid.
different elementals. So he starts off becoming a powerful mage. He starts getting
Mm,
recognition from his father. Like, oh wow, you're kind
yeah.
of strong. And his one, I think, is like the third prince, fourth prince, someone like above him, like two, but still
Hmm.
not the next in line. He's like, hey, this is seems to be what you're good at. This is a good future for you. So maybe you should keep on at this. And he actually supports him because he knows like if we don't make it, you're just going to be a nobody and you're not going to have any money. You're not the next in line.
Yeah.
You're not going to receive property, anything. So he's actually trying to be helpful for him. Well, of course, the eldest brother tries to defeat. So back in the days, I think the original person who became the noble was able to semi-successfully seal away a powerful dragon. So the
Mm,
brother's like, okay, I'm going to finalize, like actually put the permanent seal on. So I'm going to break the temporary seal and then put on the permanent seal. Obviously, he failed, where he had to be called in, like, oh, the town's in danger, the dragon's loose. He came in, defeated the dragon. Then the dragon became subservient to him. So now the dragon, you know the tropes. Come on, let's be real. So now the dragon is one of his power sources. He got like a dragon mark
yeah.
and he can use dragon powers. So this show is about him continuously raising his strength becoming more and more powerful, and because of
Yeah.
the recognition
Sounds
getting,
pretty good.
he's getting he actually received a noble ranking. Spoiler alert: by episode 4, he received the noble ranking because he defeated the dragon,
Oh, episode 4.
thus
Oh shit.
becoming a higher rank than his father and his brother, and then of course the brother now hates him. So the show's really good.
It sounds good actually.
It it has a great like scenario, like a great
Yeah,
scene.
yeah,
The only thing I would say is the action isn't all the way there. While
yeah.
there is some action in there, he starts to build his own town up and everything, gather like elves and other demi humans around the world,
One of
building his
one of them
community.
one
But
of them I'm gonna make a neighborhood type shit.
yeah, like Mushoku Tensei, that bitch.
Yeah,
And like there's fighting, but it's definitely not to the level of Mushoku Tensei. It's like, oh,
yeah.
our village is being attacked, ha, and then they kick them and they punch them and we win type shit. So it's fighting in it, and he
Sick.
does like make measures to make them more powerful, give them magic and stuff like that. But there's
Yeah.
never going to be a longer than a 10-second fight between two people.
Mm,
So that's why it's really good. It's definitely an A because of
and
the whole world, the world building. But the
yeah.
action is definitely something to be desired. So A.
Mm, okay. All right. I'll give that one to you. All right. So the next one, guys, another one you're gonna have to take away. I have not watched this because
Oh.
I'm not ever going to watch anything with Appraiser in the name of it. It's even given the worthless Appraiser class, I'm actually the strongest.
Okay.
So put that in D tier.
Um, I'm I'm gonna put this one in B. I'm gonna
Oh,
put this
first
one in
D.
a B. Yeah,
First
it's
D.
good,
Okay.
and I'm going to continue watching it, but it's
Okay.
not as good as the one I'm putting in A. So
Yeah.
this one, not an isekai. He's in a world where we know the trope where certain class of people, depending on your job type,
Yeah.
will make you weaker or seen as
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
lower than other people who have like warrior
Yep.
classes, knight classes,
Yep.
stuff like that. So because he gets the
Glutton.
class of appraiser, he's the weakest class.
Yep.
So he ends because people don't want to work with the weakest class. No other party wants to accept him except for this one guy who I believe I'm pretty sure they were like friends in the past
Hmm.
or something like that. But he ends up accepting them to the party, but he treats them like shit. And
Yeah.
we've seen the
Makes sense.
adventure anime where they run into trouble and then they just push the weakest guy off and they all
Solo
get up
leveling.
out of there. Then they just all get out of there. Well, in this
Yeah.
one, he ends up almost dying. He falls in deeper into the dungeon, and where he runs
Artist Sarah?
into the tropes. But we watch it. We like the tropes.
Yeah.
And but he
Yeah.
goes falling into deeper in the dungeon until he gets like a tree of life. I can't think of the like a herb tree. I can't think of the exact
Yeah.
naming for it.
Yggdrasil.
Yeah, the Yggdrasil. You're good at this. This is why
It's
that's
a
why I keep
more
you
it's
as a
a life
co-star.
tree in Norse mythology.
That's why I keep you as a co-star, bro.
I'm not getting paid for this, by the way. Sponsor us, my anime list.
So he falls deeper in the dungeon, gets to the Yggdrasil, and like there's this like spirit there, and
Mhm.
like they save him. Who's they? The Yggdrasil also has a soul, and of course the soul is a
Yes,
girl,
it does.
a little
Yes, it does.
blonde elf girl,
Yes, it
and they
does.
save him. It's an
Yep.
S. Did you say it's an S?
No, I said yes, it does. Like this
Oh,
is if you didn't notice in a lot of anime, not to cut you off, but like there's a lot of Norse like culture taken and thrown into anime. There's a
mm,
shit ton of Yggdrasils, Fenrirs, Fenris.
I'm
I
noticing
mean,
that.
there's a lot of, and I wonder why that is, but there's a lot of Norse stuff, right? And to be fair, and this is maybe one of the only reasons why is Norse mythology because I've read a lot of it and I know a lot about it. It's a very fairy tale esque religion. If you
Okay.
ever like really, if you ever deep it, like it's really about like gods, creatures, elves, dwarves, like smiths, adventuring, dungeon, like it
That's
has
why they
all that.
follow it then.
And so I'm assuming, that's probably one of the reasons, but there's a lot, like there's a Yggdrasil in almost every adventure anime with a life tree. You know what
Loki,
I'm
there's a
saying?
Loki in One Piece, with the
Hmm.
Yggdrasil or the God
Yeah,
tree, but neither here or there.
yeah,
He gets down into the dungeon. They end up saving him. The key
yeah,
point to, or where the turnaround point for this anime, they
yeah.
give him a eye, which is like supposed to be an
The Eye of Odin.
upgrade. I mean, it could be. I can't remember what they called it,
I
but
got you.
it
Wait,
allowed
is it?
him to get more powerful appraiser skills, so that when he defeats a creature and appraises them, he gets their powers. So whatever powers they had, he appraises them.
Oh,
He gets
sweet.
those powers.
Holy shit!
So
I kind of want to watch that.
the older lady, the first soul that he met, she's like the mother of the Yggdrasil.
Hmm.
She's the caretaker. So she
Yeah, yeah.
trains him to get used to the power, and he can actually level up that eye. So he starts at level 1, and then by the time they finish the training, he gets to level 2. But where we move from there, because now he's become powerful, he has the appraiser skill, he has the skills of all the bottom of the dungeon, the strongest A rank, S rank creatures. He
Yeah.
has their powers. The Yggdrasil soul girl asks him, "Hey, there are fragments of my soul around the world in
Hmm.
dungeons. Not
One
every
Piece.
dungeon, some dungeons. So can
Yeah,
you?" She didn't really ask him. She mentioned it, and he said, "I'll take you to visit all your
yeah,
different soul freaks, all your sisters." So
yeah.
this show is about him taking them, because they then go into his eye, and he keeps them in his eye, and he takes them to different dungeons, defeating the dungeons, and then he may get to a dungeon where a sister exists there, and then she joins the party. So
What was
yeah.
that? What was that other anime we watched about? Remember, there was an anime we watched a while ago where he ended up meeting the demon in the alleyway, and because he saved her, she gave him the demon eye.
Oh, Mashuko
And
Tensei.
no, no, no. Was it
Yeah.
Mushoku Tensei?
When he met her in the alleyway, he ends up saving her, and she gave him demon eyes so that he can see
Was
things
that
like three
Mushoku
seconds into
Tensei?
the future.
That must have been. No,
I
for some
recently
reason,
read
I
it.
thought it was like a very like one season or adventure anime for some
Bro,
reason. I don't know
this
why.
happened at least 5 times
Yeah,
in anime.
yeah.
We could
Like,
probably count on our
because he
hands
gets
right
the
now.
green, he gets the green eye where he can like see shit,
With a
slow
little
shit
red circle
down.
around it.
Yeah, something like that. Okay, okay. So it was Mushoku. Okay, cool, cool, cool,
So
cool,
the reason why I'm putting it as a B, it's not saying that it's not good, because again, I'm going to
cool. Okay.
continue it. It's
Yeah.
because he's too powerful for
Oh,
the world.
oh, jeez.
He has All he has to do is, one, I don't even know if he has to defeat them, but
Uh,
appraise them to get their OP skills. And once he's gotten OP skills of all the S's and A's of one dungeon, there's nothing else that is pushing him to a limit. Nothing like, I think the so far the best fight he's had, like who was actually pushed, was the original guy who
yeah.
pushed him. He ended up going into depression because people found out what he did, and then of course one of the fragments is a
Hmm.
bad elf, a dark elf. She ends up convincing him to take her soul thing in and
Hmm.
turns him into a demon, and he has to fight the demon. But he beats him.
Hmm.
So it's decent because like the storyline is decent, but I feel like they
He's
should
just
have
too OP.
gradually made him stronger and stronger. They made him S rank in episode 2. And now there's
I
no one
I
has
actually
given him
kind of want to
troubles.
watch it. I
I
actually
mean,
kind of want to
it's a
watch it again
solid
now.
show. I just wish,
Yeah.
I hope in the future there's actually going to be something he can't be or he needs help to
Mhm.
be. Because right now he's defeating whoever comes in his
And
way.
that's what I was kind of saying about Guild Receptionist. How like she's OP, but she still needs to,
Hmm.
duck and dive and, bob and weave, you know what I'm saying? Like so the OP ones are good when they get pushed, but it's not they're just one punch man and people and it's not supposed to be like that. It's kind of like, all right, cool,
Facts,
cool, cool,
facts.
cool.
So
Whatever, whatever.
B, high B. Could possibly be A. Maybe it'll end up being an A by the end of the season, but B for now. I'm good with that.
All right. This needs a edgy kind of. All right. The elf girl's cat secretly an S rank monster. This show shouldn't be allowed to exist.
Yes, it should.
This show shouldn't be
Yes, it
allowed
should.
to. Hey, I know for a fact. I don't know about you, David, but I know for a fact that I have friends who have their kids that are older. I know that I personally know kids that are older
Hmm.
that are at youth that watch this podcast.
Fur
Skip,
babies. I'm trying
skip
to give them
this
to
part.
you.
Skip this part. Skip this part because I know you're watching and you know exactly who I'm talking to.
Go to the timestamp. 3
Skip
minutes later.
skip this part. So, this show is an isekai,
Hmm.
and it's about a young man who was a hero and he ended up getting betrayed. Judith. He ended up getting betrayed by some people.
Hmm.
We don't really find out exactly why yet.
Hmm.
Maybe it's like in the next episode, but I'm 5 deep right now. Um, and he ends up getting isekai'd into another world. He ends up finding out like he's moving around a little bit, and he's like, "What the hell? Like, why am I moving weird? Let me pull up my stats. Let me see what's going on." He's like, "Oh shit, I'm a S rank behemoth. That's crazy.
Mm.
Like, I'm a monster." And he ends up going to the pond or lake, whatever, inside of the dungeon, and he looks in, and he's a tiny little fucking kitty cat. And he's like, "Why the fuck am I a tiny little kitty cat?"
It's wholesome.
And then yeah, and then he's like, okay, well, this fucking sucks, but hey, and then he ends up starting to get attacked by other monsters in the dungeon. We know the slime, spider. I mean,
Yeah.
we trope, right? And he ends up getting attacked, ends up beating those monsters because he is super fucking strong,
Mm-hmm.
and he ends up eating them, and because he's like, I'm super hungry, Artifutura. He ends up eating them because he's like, I need to eat, and I ain't got no food, and he ends up figuring out every time he eats a monster, he gets their powers. He can get wings, fire breath, whatever the fuck, whatever it is, he can get their powers, and so on and so forth. Well, he ends up running into, I believe that's the first time he runs into the Earth Dragon, and he runs into the Earth Dragon and gets his ass beat. I think it's the Earth Dragon. It's a powerful monster. I don't know if it's the Earth Dragon
Mm-hmm.
yet, but because he meets the Earth Dragon like 2 or 3 times before the thing happens. But he ends up getting his ass beat because Earth Dragon is an S rank monster. He doesn't know how to transform yet. He doesn't have a transformative skill. He doesn't have anything. He's still a tiny little kitty cat. And he gets his ass beat, ends up trying to crawl out of the dungeon. Well, we get introduced to our protagonist's elf girl, who is a very buxom elf girl. She's very busty
Mm.
and like exceedingly busty for some reason. And she's traveling in a dungeon, you know, like, and you
Wearing a
know, like
bra for no reason. Okay.
wearing something, okay. And she ends up stumbling upon the tiny little kitty cat, and she takes him home and nurses him back to health. She doesn't know that he's a behemoth, he's an S rank monster or anything like that. Um, and she ends up, taking him in. He's like sleeping on her titties, like all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Anyways, well, we end up finding out she's an adventurer. I think she's B rank. I think they say she's like mid
Yeah,
tier. She's not like
she's
super strong.
low but not high.
Yeah, like
I mean,
yeah, she's
low but
like
not too
C.
low. Yeah, like
Yeah,
C.
she's like C B something like that. Pretty strong, but not like uber strong. Nothing crazy. And yeah, so she ends up essentially walking around with this cat. She goes to the dungeon. The cat follows her to the dungeon, helps her out a little bit. She ends up finding out that the cat wants to protect her, and she fucking falls in love with the cat.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
uh,
To be
and
fair, in this
she
world,
gets drunk.
crossbreeding exists.
Yeah, no, stop
It
trying to justify this.
exists. They talked about it. It's
She
real.
gets really drunk, and he ends up protecting her. Well, he ends up no, actually. So before this happens, she ends up meeting a guy who's wanted to be in her party forever. Also, there's a trans bar, with a bunch of men dressed as women,
Oh, the guild
and
bar.
the
Yeah,
guild
like all
bar
the bartenders are
are
transgender men. Yeah,
are transgender men. They're massive
I don't know how that
dudes.
works.
I don't even know. They're massive dudes with makeup and dressed like girls with
Yeah,
clothes
that
that are too tight,
cross
and they act
dressers.
like the dude from Pretty Pink from One Punch Man. That dude,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Pretty Pink or whatever. They act
Hmm.
like that nigga.
Big old
And
muscular
yeah, big
weirdos.
muscular makeup, lip gloss. Yeah. Anyways, well, she ends up running this dude who's like, "Hey, you're gonna be in my party. I'm gonna do stuff to you." He's a fucking weird. He's a weirdo. He's a creep. And he's like, "You're gonna be in my party, this and that." And she's like, "Hey, well," the cat ends up scratching him and saying like, like you're not gonna attack my girl. I like her, this and that. And he's like, comes back. He says, "Hey, well, this cat's scheduled to be put to death, and unless because he attacked a member of the royal guard." So either she's like, well, how about you fight me? 1v1 me. You 1v1 me, and, if I win, you leave my cat alone. If I lose, then he was like, I'll take you as my wife. And she's like, sure. They say, fuck it. And she's like, well, you can have anybody to join you. And so the cat joins in. The cat ends up using powers to save her during that 1v1 because she's about to lose. And he's like, fuck, well, now people are going to know I'm a monster. Well, apparently there's a thing in the world called elemental cats,
Mm.
where elemental cats have magic. They can use magic, they can use powers. They also know that elemental cats can understand human language, and they can communicate with you, not through human language, but they understand you. Like they're not just an animal. They literally can understand you. And so she ends up finding that out. Then she gets drunk,
That's all she
and
needed.
then that's all she needed, bro. And then she gets drunk, and she's like, "Oh, I need you." Like, I can't even say half the shit she said. Anyways, she says some stuff to him, and she's
Mm.
like, this, and that. She ends up finding out from a friend that elemental cats can transform into bigger versions. Uh, yeah, like they get a transformative thing where they can transform bigger, and she begins to ramble on about how she wishes when he gets bigger, he puts her down with his paws and ravages her
Mm-hmm.
as a giant lion, tiger cat thing.
You're doing your best. It's okay. Keep it going.
Yeah, yeah, and um, then there's a bunch of scenes with her naked and bathing, and him pretty much in her bosom,
Mm.
and her being flirty with him, pretty much saying how much she wants to have sex with him and how she loves him. And yeah, then she ends up getting poisoned. She ends up getting poisoned. They end up going on like a little excursion. She ends up getting poisoned by, I forgot what she got. What did she get poisoned by?
Something that they
Uh,
needed something specific
yeah.
to heal.
So they needed something specific. They end up finding out they needed Earth Dragon. They needed an Earth Dragon to pretty much save her. And he's like, well, shit, I know where a fucking Earth Dragon is. And he goes down to fight that Earth Dragon again. And he ends up being able to transform into his behemoth size. And he's like, he hasn't wanted to do that because he could have originally, but he hasn't wanted to do that because he didn't want people to know he was a behemoth and his elf girl to leave him. And he's like, well, because he thinks he's going to be stuck that way. Well, he ends up transforming into his behemoth size, beats the Earth Dragon, takes the Earth Dragon's body, drops it back off, but then he transforms back to the cat again, and it shows that he can't use it. So I'm assuming it's kind of like a video game where you use a power up, and then it has to recharge again before you can use it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, drops Earth Dragon off. She ends up getting saved, and we get to the point where they end up going back to the dungeon, and they end up running into this girl because she not makes friends, but she already has a friend who's an armorer, who's also a cat girl. Um, Also a cat girl who starts to fall for our tiny kitten friend. Uh,
Mm.
Takes him into the dungeon. They end up finding this girl in the dungeon who's pretty much wearing rags and is just a savage woman. Oh man! And they end up bringing her back, asking her to do a lot of stuff. Happens, asked to join the party, but essentially this girl can use. She's a telepath as well. She ends up using telepathy with the cat, and she's like, "You don't remember who I am? You don't know who I am? This, and that." And she's apparently be, she's smitten with him because he beat her. And she's like, I'm the Earth Dragon, essentially. And he's like, fuck. He's like, you need to get away from her, like this thing. She's like, no, I love you. You're gonna be inside of me. Like we're gonna have babies. We're gonna do stuff. And he's like, no, I don't want any of that with you. And she's like, you beat me. I'm yours. I belong to you now. And yeah, and she's pretty much the Earth Dragon, but she's in human form because after he beat her, she was able to transform into a human, her human self. And because I think she had the same curse that he did, but in reverse, right? Like
She
he died as a,
reincarnated.
yeah, like he died, turned into a beast, and she died as a beast and turned into a human.
Mm.
But she still retains her powers as an Earth Dragon. She can use like the tail, the claws, the fire, but she doesn't look like that. She's
Mm.
also very busty. And so now he has three of these women who are very busty who want to have sex with him. And there's a lot of sexual references with a tiny cat, and it shouldn't be allowed to exist. It is a
Mm.
good show. The problem,
Shouldn't be
so
allowed to exist, but it's
besides
good.
besides if I take away all the sex stuff, um, it does give me reincarnated as a sword vibes, but like not as good.
Mm.
Um, it's kind of mid to me. If I leave out, like I think they fill this with a lot of sexual content to
Mm.
make the story better
Okay.
because it's not a good story. Like it's not. The plot isn't really there for me. Um, it's a very heavy sexual content,
Mm.
especially with a cat, and I think they fill that a lot just to make up for the fact that there's really no plot. Um, if without that, I think it's a B, but adding that back in, we like our edgy stuff. I'm not gonna lie. I probably put it like a very low A. Because to
Mm.
me there's not like it's like they're trying to overcompensate with the sex stuff. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Uh, so that's where I'm at
Okay.
with that.
Fair assessment. See, because I imagine when you watch this, like after as soon as the episode ends, you like go in the bathroom, you wash your hands, you wash your face, you then wash your eyeballs, so you
Yeah,
don't take what you just experience
I'm
on with you
watching
until the
human
rest of the
beings
night.
trying to have sex with a little cat.
So
That's fucking weird.
break for all the people he was talking about, because I know you're still there. Now it's time for you to go ahead and skip forward, because I'm not going to be
Don't
as
make me
nice as him.
don't make me say your name.
he's,
I know you're
I know
watching.
you're still there. Go ahead and skip.
I'm gonna
This
text you right now.
show is a name. It shows a name. I don't think it's because of just the etchiness. Because quite honestly, it's really not that apparent. I know when it happens for you, I know you're on it, but it happens, but it's not as much as you're putting it across. So there's whole story. There's just story,
On
and
Crunchyroll too,
then
and they show titties. It's crazy.
yeah, they show them. And then I think the first time like something like really happens where it's kind of like, oh, this is etchy. I think I remember when that moment happened. I
It
texted
was the
you,
drunk
and I
thing.
was like, this is. I think no, I think it was even before then. It was the I think they had a bath before that.
No, that the first
The
ever
first bath
etchiness
happened
of the
afterwards.
show. No, I'm saying like the first like sign of sexual content. Maybe etchy, I guess, is a term we're disassociating from. So like I guess the etchy scene would be them showing something, but I mean
Mm,
like the first instance of any sexual content is not, I mean, yeah, she like gets dressed and like her titties bounce and we see that a lot, but is
mm.
when she gets drunk. This is the first sexual thing, is when she gets drunk and
What
she's
you
like, I
say?
need you to, you're gonna leave me, I need you to do stuff to me and like this and that, I love you, don't do, I'm gonna like put you inside, I don't know, all kinds of
That's
nastiness.
fair. I think for me, it's not etchy is because, well, it's etchy, but not to that extreme for me. Is because they had already established in the world that different species
Oh,
mate.
they said that later though. They
They
said that. I thought
established
they
that
said later
fairly
because
early
when
with
the hammer
the
girl, when the
the
cat
cat
girl was
girl.
saying, yeah, but I'm saying like that's later when she's speaking to the cat girl, and the cat girl says, "You know that he can transform," and they're crossbreeding. Oh no, completely forgot about the tentacle shit. Oh God, I forgot about that. How did I forget about that?
Forget
Anyways,
about
that's when she
tentacles.
says it. When the girl goes to go fight the tentacle monsters, and she's like,
Mm,
"Oh, we can." And he was like, "Hell no."
that's like
The
episode two
cat,
though. That
is
still
it?
happens
Maybe
fairly early.
maybe because it just dragged on for me with all that
So
shit.
that's what I'm saying. Like after you
So
finish
I
your
was just
episode,
like,
you had to wash your hands.
I was like, I
So
mean, the tentacle stuff was
the
alright,
tentacle, the tentacle
but
stuff. Yes, there's a lot of, and I think they do a lot of jokes. Like she's not joking, but is a joke for the audience where they're like, "Oh, well, you're gonna be my mate, and we're gonna have babies in the future and everything." But yes, it is a etchy anime where, let's be real, the cat is the one who's gonna have the harem of women. I think it may
like
get a
this big.
bad rap. Hmm?
He's like this big.
Hey, little things get big. I think the bad rap that it receives is because he's a cat.
Yeah,
Because if he was
yeah,
a cat man,
yeah. If he was
people
like
people wouldn't feel
Beastars,
the same way. But again, in this world, crossbreeding is a thing. He's an isekai, so he was a man
I
at
want to
one
tell this,
point, and
but
he has the mannerisms of a human or
I want to
someone
tell this
who's
girl,
a
like, you know
conscious.
how cats have barbed penises, right?
She
I don't think
knows.
she cares. I
She
don't think she cares,
knows.
bro. That's insane.
That's the first thing she found out.
Insane. That's
She
insane. She
whispered
said,
in his
Google,
ear, "Hey, is it true?
is
You
it?
gotta."
Is it? And then when you grow up, it's gonna be like,
Oh man, but you're right. I think it does like use the etchiness like sprinkled on to kind of make it look slightly better. I think even without the etchy, without the boobs though, that's a lot. Even without the etchy, I'd say it's an A. I'm putting it on as a low A. It's one of those
below, like
like
below.
all the way at the bottom of A,
Okay.
only because it's may draw a lot of people off or pull a lot of people
Yeah.
away because he's a cat.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I see the vision. I see the vision. I know what they were trying to do.
I really hope. I mean, I think they're gonna rim us here with the sexualness, especially if he's a cat. But I really hope if they do decide to cross that line, he like gets a form that he can
Yeah,
transform
I was
that
just gonna say that.
transforms into like a beast man, like an
Hmm.
actual like cat, like the fucking armor, like can transform him into like something like that. But I hope they do that before they cross that line because I will not watch the show.
At least,
There's only
hopefully, he's able to speak
there's only
words before that
there's
actually
only
happens.
no, no words ain't enough.
No, I'm saying
He's a
he needs to have
oh
be able to speak words too. Now, even if he becomes
yeah,
like a cat man, if he still
yeah.
can only mew, then I'm like,
I
that's
can
not
only
consent.
take
That's not consent.
so much hentai, like
It's not that.
only so much. There's a limit. There's a
Hey,
line
I enjoyed
that I
those
won't.
bath scenes. Those are my favorite part of
There's a
the
line
episodes.
I will not cross, and it's bestiality. Now,
Bestiality.
not with like cat man and elf girl, like actual animal
Cat.
and girl. I can't
Cat with elf girl.
just any animal
Like if it's an
with a
animal, that's the line right there.
that's the
Okay.
line. I'm not crossing that line.
Fair,
Yeah,
fair, 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 fair.
I'm not doing.
And because I know
Not
that
doing
that could
BoJack
be the
Horseman
case,
and Elf Girl. Not doing.
I'm I'm definitely gonna put it as a low A. Still not a B. 'Cause I think it's a decent show
I
even
just think
without the
if you
sexual references.
yeah, if you took out all the etchiness, I think it's not a shit show, but like because like we've seen this, right? Like I mean, technically not without the cat,
Mm,
but like this is harem in a labyrinth, essentially. You know what I'm saying? Like with the big titty elf girl,
mm.
that stuff, but that's etchy, but not to this extent, and the show still worked. The show was still good.
They be
You
having
know what I'm
sex.
saying?
What you mean?
Yeah, but I'm saying it's
You
like,
bought sex slaves.
but the sex is like in the beginning, the most of the beginning, um it's normal shit. So it's like when you get off work, you end your day, you have sex with your wife, and then you go to bed. You
Mm.
know what I'm saying? That's normal. That's a
Just say it's
slice of
the
life.
cat, bro.
That's this
It's
girl.
okay. It's
It's
the
the
cat.
cat.
It's the
I
cat.
mean,
We get it. It's the
let's be honest. Let's be honest. She fell in love with a tiny kitty.
because it was a cat man,
And
or everything that happened so far will be okay.
oh yeah, I mean it's etchy, but it's a tiny cat, bro. Before she even found out that he was an
Why
elemental
the
cat,
cat
she
gotta
wanted
be
to have
so
sex with
small?
him.
Can
Like
it be a big
she wanted to
cat?
have sex with this cat before she found out he could even understand her. Bro, like what
Can
is
you
wrong with
imagine?
you?
Like, hey, I want to fuck it. What? It's a cat. I want to fuck
I want to fuck it. I don't
it. Hey,
care. That's why they
move
say
on,
Marines
move
can't
on.
go to space because they just
You just fuck
aliens began
everything.
pregnant. Pregnant. All right. This next show, I actually really love this show for its cringiness. So this is the Red Ranger becomes an adventurer in another world.
Mm.
This show is essentially about power. And to start off, this is way better than the evil Power Ranger show. I forgot what that one was called.
Oh, go loser Rangers.
Go Loser Rangers.
Mm.
This show is way better in my personal opinion. So this show is about our Red Ranger, well, pretty much all the Power Rangers. All the Power Rangers, it starts off with one of their cringy fights where they transform, explosions happen behind them, they're fighting off the evil villain, and the Red Ranger ends up going to sacrifice himself on the villain's ship to save the city and save his comrades and things like that with the power of friendship. I fucking love it. And he ends up blowing the ship up and he's like, well, shit, I guess I'm dead.
Mm.
Like, here we go. It is what it is. And he ends up falling on his head in the middle of a forest. And he's like, what the fuck? And there was one part about it I didn't like, but I'm okay with it because they moved past it in a decent way. Well, he ends up falling on his head and he's like, where the fuck am I? This, and that. Then we transition to a mage girl who her family was actually nobility. She was the mage. So in a lot of these shows, we know that kings, even in live action shows, just like The Witcher, things like that, kings usually had magicians or mages or witches as their right hand. They
Mm.
had like their advisor used to be mages. Well, her family used to be the advisors to all the nobility, to all the kings that came before them. Well, they ended up getting overthrown by another mage family and got kicked out of the castle and ended up having to move to still another big ass house on the countryside. And this girl is looking for a new hero or a new adventurer to help her get the role of the Holy Scepter back, which the Holy Scepter is the one that's the advisor to the king to get her family's place back after her father lost it. And she's testing these adventurers by having them fight a golem. She ends up kicking out two guys and the Red Ranger comes up and he said, "Hey, this next adventurer that you have on the list has apparently been making a name for himself in the past 6 months by adventuring, by doing this, and that." I'm like, "Oh shit, we didn't get to see him like, be an adventurer. That's kind of ass." You know what I'm saying? But they actually moved past it pretty well. You know,
Yeah.
they did pretty well in my personal opinion. But um, and he shows up and he has a hood on and he thinks this golem that's taking these adventurers that just passed the test, he thought the golem was a bad guy instead of just like the security taking people out to allow the next one in.
Mm-hmm.
So he starts fighting the golem, and the golem, like, he kicks the golem, and while she's sitting there on her chair, she got titties too, bro. She's just sitting there in her tight ass outfit, and she's just like, all right, send the next one in. And the golem just goes flying through the wall and just like blows up in like in the wall. And I mean, it's still like alive, but it just blows up in the wall. And she's like, "What the fuck?" And he jumps in. He's like, "Don't worry, ma'am. I'll save you." And he jumps in. He rips his fucking robe off. Got the red like outfit on, but not like the suit yet. And then he's like, "Ready, go!" And he fucking gets in. He's like, like let's go. And it does the whole Power Ranger thing when they transform. And he's like, "Ah," and she's like, "What the fuck is that? Why did it make noise? And what was with that explosion
What was
behind you?"
with the explosion, bro? What does
And
it have to be an
I love
explosion?
that. And I love
It's
that
real.
because that is pure Power Ranger.
But it's real
And
though. Are they real?
yeah,
Like even in a
they're
show, like
real.
there's actual like
I
that
mean,
happened.
technically, yes, I guess, but they never. But the point is, they're making fun of it
Yeah, they never
in the show,
address it.
and I love that they're making fun of it.
That
And
show's funny.
he ends up beating the golem, and he's like, "Yeah, with the power of love," and he's just like, and he untransforms. He's like, "So did I make it?" And she's just like, "Who are you?" And he's like, I forgot what his fucking name was, Hagamoro something something. Like, you call me, most people just call me Red. And she's like,
Just
"Yeah,
call me Red.
I wouldn't have fucking guessed." And his whole outfit's red, and ends up finding out that she's looking for a hero to go adventuring with,
Mm.
and this and that, and they end up going on an adventure. He said, "All right, let's do a test adventure. Let's go out and try to mine some of this mana rock, and see how it goes." And they get down to brass tacks, where essentially, her goal is to do the Holy Scepter shit. And he's like, "All right, I'm in." And she's like, "What?" And he's like, "Your goal is great. Like, I've been adventuring around this long, and I haven't found anybody who, that I." He's like, "I don't really have a goal, but now my goal is to help you with your goal because I want us to be friends. I want us to be close. Like, through the power of comradeship, we're gonna be." She's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And they end up, and I love the fact that he can also do this. They end up running into this giant like gate guard who's like a massive beast, and he calls down a fucking Megazord, and I love it, and I fucking love
It's
it. And he's
just two of them inside of it.
yeah, and I love it. And she's like, "What the fuck?" And then they get knocked back, and he's like, "No, you have to really believe. You have to really believe in our friendship and
How
our
did I
power."
get
She's
here?
like, she said, "I just met you," and she's like, "And how did I end up in here?" And he's like, "No, you have to believe in it." She's like, "All right, fine, I'll believe in our friendship," and they end up beating it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just funny because every time, and then they go back to adventuring a little bit more. There's kind of like a not a low period, but them kind of learning about each other,
Mm.
and then they end up running across other monsters. And every time he transforms and she's behind him, that explosion like singes her back. And she's like, "Oh, what the fuck?" And he's like, and he doesn't say anything. He's like, "Yeah." Like the explosion happens. She's
Mm.
like, "Don't transform when I'm behind you." And and they essentially end up adventuring together to try to, obviously achieve her goal. And they end up running into a group, a princess and a her knight, who essentially their goal is to, I forgot exactly what their goal is, but it kind of aligns with her goal. Like, there's these mana seeds that are going around. That's what it was. There's these mana seeds that keep getting distributed amongst the kingdom, and the king has specifically told the girl who's a princess to her and her knight to go out and investigate where these monasteries are coming from. And she's like, "Well, fuck, quid pro quo, Clarice. Like, if I help you do this, then I'll get a good word in with the king, and she's royalty. So, like, this will help me out. I'll help you out, so on and so forth." Well, homeboy doesn't really like our Red Ranger because he's all about the power of smiles, and he pretty much tries to sabotage him. They get into a big bad fight. They end up whooping the thing's ass, and then we end up coming across a demon knight or something like that. I'm kind of like wave topping a lot of this, but really just to get to my point of the fact that, one, this tickles my Power Ranger fantasy. I love Power Rangers. I love Power Rangers. I've loved Power Rangers since I was a kid. I try to get my sons to watch it because I love the cringiness of Power Rangers. Like I don't care who you are, Power Rangers is always so nostalgic. And the fact that they brought this into the show and then they're also kind of making fun of it. Like he does the whole transform thing with his whole like his he's part of the Power Ranger grid
Mm.
and he gets the Megazord and the explosion happens behind him because in every Power Rangers when they all are like Domino Force transform and they all like are transformed, it's like a in the background
Mm-hmm.
and they brought that into the next isekai world and he's like and it's like a real thing. They're like, why the fuck is there an explosion every time you transform? Where does it come from? And he never addresses it. He just like, yeah, like
Oh no, when he got the remember he summoned his Megazord inside of the dungeon. So he's like just the
he's just
Megazord just like
crying.
sitting there like this.
He's like, eh. He's like, well, I guess we can't use it
We
now.
can't
And then
use it now.
he's like so
So
positive,
over the top, bro.
like a Power Ranger is. I don't think you understand. I love this show because of how cringy it is. Like
Mm.
it's the Power Ranger cringiness brought into the adventure isekai world. He still gets to use his powers. He still gets to, but the thing is, he's not talk no jutsuing people, but he's making other people love him so he can use his weapons because the only way he can use his weapons is if everybody loves each other.
Oh yeah, he
Like,
because the night
like
dude didn't like him. He was like, "We need to work together. We have to use the power of friendship." I don't
yeah,
like you.
I don't like you. I don't want anything. I don't want to be any
Hey,
part of
he
you.
did it in the end though.
And again, he's OP as fuck. He's a Power Ranger in an event in a magical world, and he's OP.
Mm.
Like he's whooping everybody's ass, like beating ass. And then, not to mention, this is something that like really shows a plot is forming because this last episode I watched is when that demon showed up, and the smile demon, whatever it was, the jester, and he ended up having to use a power that kind of reminded me of when Tommy, the Green Ranger,
Oh
in the
man,
actual ultimate the um oh
Mighty
fuck I
Morphin.
forgot Mighty Morphin, yeah, turned bad, and he had that evil energy that was in him that made Tommy go bad.
Mm-hmm.
And our Red Ranger guy, he started getting this like evil aura that was around him, and he had to channel that power in order to fight this demon.
Mm.
And he was like, well, there's many more demons that are going to be coming for you, so that shows that there's going to be something in the show that is going to like be our plot for these demons, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so this show is an S for me because I think it's cringy. I think it's funny. It's literally a Power Ranger. Like this is what I expected. Go Go. I understand what Go Go Loser Ranger was supposed to be, but this really is Power Rangers to me. This is the OG cringy explosions. Like yeah, like I love that shit. That's an S to me. I
Mm.
love it to death. And that's biased, of course, because I love Power Rangers. But
I like Power Rangers too. Um, S though. Okay,
yeah,
I can respect it.
I just love it.
I mean, to me, not an S. I mean, I like Power Rangers, but I'm not
Yeah.
that huge of a fan of Power Rangers. But I also agree, though. This is what I was expecting from Go Go Losing Rangers.
Hmm.
And then when they said,
Yeah.
"Oh, the Power Rangers are the bad guys," I'm like, "Okay, they're the bad guys, but we're going to still see Power
The
Ranger
cringy
ish shit."
Power Ranger shit.
But
Yeah.
it was just about them
None.
being the bad guys, and the aliens are the good guys. So I definitely like this show. I would have put it at a high A. But I know
Mhm.
anybody who's a Power Ranger fan, this would definitely do it for them.
Oh
So
yeah.
S.
Oh, absolutely. This would do it for him because and it's just the fact that they make fun of it. You know what I'm saying? Like they kept the cringiness and they also mention it because in the OG shows that we see, nobody ever when they're fighting bad guys and they get like 20 minutes to transform and nothing's happening and then they get the explosion. Like the bad guys don't say anything about that. They just get to fighting.
Mm-hmm.
But in this show they're just like that didn't come from anywhere. That doesn't make sense. What and why is your watch always talking? Like what? Why is it like it's like oh like
Yeah, it's hilarious.
transform. Like it's fucking funny. So yeah, it's definitely if you're a Power Rangers fan, you're gonna absolutely love this show. All right, next one we got wrapping up on our final five here. So we got a Headhunted to Another World. I haven't watched the show.
Really?
I wasn't going to because when we talked about the synopsis about him potentially being an accountant for
Mm-hmm.
them, I was like,
That
I
killed
don't
it for
even
you.
want to find out if that's going to be a thing. So,
Um, I mean, I picked it up because I was interested to see like how is it going to be. Like again, we had the
Hmm.
conversations like, oh, what is he really going to be? Even though they said he's at pretty much joining their Elite Four, Pokemon reference,
Hmm.
he's just a regular human. So I was like, okay, maybe he does have a power that we're
Hmm.
going to be introduced to maybe episode 1, maybe episode 2. Yeah, that's not really the case.
Hmm.
So Headhunted to Another World, I would say is a B.
Hmm.
Only because it is more slice of life, and compared to what
Yeah.
we're watching, is not really, it's not as satisfying as everything else. So
Yeah.
this show, he's Isekai, but the whole premise of the show is the Isekai. The Demon Lord, the Demon King, he actually was like beginning episode talking to the generals, the 3 generals,
Hmm.
and saying we need to rebuild, we need to get stronger. I think they recently lost a war, so they're trying to rebuild. And they said he tells them I found like the next Elite Four member or the
Hmm.
next general who's going to help us rebuild. And then he
Yeah.
summons this regular ass guy from another world. And he's like, what the hell am I doing here? Like what is
Yeah.
this? And he essentially has to convince him that he's worthy of being in that position, convince the other
Hmm.
well, he then the general has to convince the other generals that he's worthy to be in position, all the while
Hmm.
trying to fix the army. Now
Yeah.
it's not really much to get into. It's one of those, you've seen this anime before, where this outside force comes in and he helps this
Yeah.
general in this aspect of their life and helps this
Mm.
general in this aspect until eventually they're like, oh, you are helpful. I'm happy that you are a part of the team. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much the formula for the show. He
Okay.
beginning episode, this is the general who's going to be helping, and because of his management skills, that's like his power, where he
Yeah.
used to like manage something like an office, something like that, and
Yeah.
many employees under him and having to make those big decisions.
Hmm.
That's the wealth of knowledge that he brings to the generals of the Demon Lord army.
He's management,
Yeah, he's. I mean, yeah,
upper
but
management.
he is a real people person and is really good with like handling disputes, like internal disputes between employees and stuff like that. And that's what he brings. Like he's like the best
Yeah.
supervisor
So
you
he's
could possibly
exactly
get.
what I thought it was gonna be.
He's not an accountant.
Got it.
He's,
Got
he's
it.
not
Got it.
he's not doing any
He's
accounting.
HR. He's HR. Got it. He's human resources. Understood. You have a complaint to
So
lodge against the demon lord?
so the one of the generals falls for him, like one of the female dudes.
Mm.
Okay, so
Mm.
again, it's a B. I'm not trying to hype it up as A. It's definitely the lowest of the B's, but if you are looking for a slice of life,
Yeah.
but you want to kind of mix it up with demon lords and generals and armies, this would be decent. If you like those, I'm just a regular person. I'm going to use my real life skills to
Hmm.
become better in this world. This is it. But if you heard demon lord and generals and you was expecting action, this ain't it.
I'm
So
saying that.
I'm okay with it being. It's a decent show.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm going to continue it though. That's why it's super low. It's one of those, if I've watched everything else for the week and I'm just looking for something to watch, then yeah, I'll throw it on.
Okay. Well, we're gonna move on from the greatest human resources man becomes HR in the demon lord's army
In
to
another world.
possibly the greatest alchemist of all time. Now, let me preface this by saying I don't remember this fucking show, and I watched all episodes because it wasn't memorable to me. Here's my notes. I mean, it's cute.
Mm,
To me, this it was a slice of life. This kid is an alchemist. He what I remember is he makes a spider friend. Um, he makes a lot of stuff. Uh, and I just wrote down. I mean, it's cute.
I mean, it's cute though. It is cute.
It's it's a slight. It's from what I remember. Again, it's not memorable to me. It's a slice of life. That's why I put it very low.
Mm.
Unless something happens. Unless something happens, I didn't peep
I wouldn't
or
say it's a slice of life. So this one, great, possibly the greatest alchemist. I'm pretty sure it's another one of those isekai into another worlds, but
I'm pretty sure
he
it is.
comes to realize that, I mean, it's not really a focus on that, but he's a fairly decent alchemist. That's like
I
his
mean,
job,
yeah,
is what he's do. But he
he just makes shit.
he makes stuff, and it comes to the determination that he needs to become a adventurer so he could be able to
I
access.
remember he makes toilets. I
It's
remember
one of the
that.
things he made, yes.
He
So
made a
he
toilet.
gets advised by the guy he's working with, like, hey, if you want access to
Yeah.
more things,
And
then
make
become an
I know
adventurer.
he is.
So he goes to a town, he becomes an adventurer, and they tell him like, hey, you can become an adventurer and you have access to these things, but you have to at least do like one
Hmm.
adventure, one mission a month,
Like per
something
month
like
or
that.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, so he ends up going to a slave selling place and gets two slaves. And this is when I kind of got like
Oh,
the
yeah, I remember
labyrinth
that.
and the dungeon vibes. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, because one girl she like makes a mention like, hey, I won't have sex with you though. I'm like, what you mean by that?
Yeah.
So you will have sex
Why
with me
you
then?
keep saying that? Why you keep saying it like that?
I mean, and it could possibly be because he's starting to see that one
Get your
of
hands
the,
off
well,
me.
both of them are in love with him. But the
Mm,
like the main elf girl, she's like super in love with him. I wouldn't say it's a slice of life. There fighting does occur in it. Like the main elf girl, she's like super powerful. Like
mhm,
he had to like cure her so she can be powerful, and that's why nobody
mhm.
else wanted to buy her as a slave because she had like a curse on her. And then even the girl who's supposed to be the housemaid, she ends up being powerful as well. He provides them things to even make them more powerful. It's a
Bro, just
simple adventure show.
just just say it. It's boring.
No, I don't think it's boring. I don't think it's
I thought it
boring.
was boring as hell.
I
I'll
like
be
I think
honest.
but I like cute things. You said it's cute though. I like the cute
It's
shows.
cute, I
He
guess.
he tames the spider
Mm-hmm.
monster and
The
everyone's
Christmas
like
party.
freaked out like how did you do that? Because they say bugs are the only monster that is extremely difficult to tame. He tamed
Mm-hmm.
one and then he evolved her. So now she's like half woman, half spider. And then
Yep.
he also tamed like Greek, not a Greek god, but like a powerful horse type monster. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a normal adventuring show.
I'd give you B, but if you say anything above it,
Why you pulling the rug from up under me?
because this can't be an A. We like generally the same thing. And when you tell me something's really good, like what's it called?
It's not
Camp
really
Cookout
good.
in
The question
another world.
is
I
it
agreed.
good enough that it's an A, or is it's on the fence for me.
It's
It
mid
can be
enough
an A,
to be a B.
but it's mid enough to be a B.
It's a mid. It's mid
I'm
at
willing to
best.
be putting taking your opinion into account. I'm willing to put it as a B because it's on the fence for me.
What is what is the other one? What was the other
Oh,
one?
the
What's
appraiser
the
skill. I think appraiser skill is better than this one.
yeah, this it would sound like it. I would honestly only because of the adventure shit, I'd put it above HR representative in another
Yeah,
world.
it's an adventure anime,
So
and that's why it's able to hold a good
yeah,
spot. And it hasn't been boring. It's just been
yeah,
cute. It's like they
yeah.
just want to be cute. So it's
That's
definitely
all
not
it is.
labyrinth. It's not that at all.
Yeah. All right, last three. So Ubel Blatt. I actually enjoyed the first episode of this.
Mm,
Unfortunately, like I said, I was a little disappointed with myself because I didn't get to catch up as much as I thought I'd be able to.
mm,
So I've only ever watched the first episode. I did like the fight, like the action in it and the animation of how it's done.
yeah.
Plus, where I think it's heading, I think it potentially is going to be a really good show. But you'd have to take away a little bit more on this one because
Mm.
again, I only watched the first episode. I only, I got to finish the um what was the other one? Not FruitMaster. The one of them. I forgot. I finished one of them today. Ubel Blatt was going to be the next one, but I got
Mm.
wrapped up in something. So, but I did watch the first episode, and from what I saw just in one episode, I did like it. So you can go ahead and take this one
I
away.
mean, I'm not that much deeper than you. I think I'm maybe episode 2 or 3. Ubel Blatt is good. It's a good show.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it suffers from what the same problem we had with Asura, where
I kind of got that
it has
vibe.
like these deep messages and
Yeah,
history, and you have to really pay attention. I
yeah,
think if you really pay attention to it, it's a good show. From what I picked up, they were a large group of adventurers, heroes,
yeah.
whatever. I think it was like 12 of them. But then
The
at
first
some
part kind of
point,
confused me.
half of the group betrayed the other half, killed
Yeah,
them, and
the
then
10 heroes or
they're now in
something.
the future the
Five
like
heroes.
rich, famous because they were
Yeah,
the heroes who saved the day. Ubel Blatt, he was one of them,
yeah,
but he was one that got betrayed and left for dead. He
yeah.
didn't die, and between then and now, he's been working his way up to get to the point where he can kill them. And I think
Yeah.
by like episode 2, he almost gets a chance to kill like the main guy, the
Yeah.
main leader of the heroes who made the decision to fuck everybody over. But he
Yeah.
gets basically he gets what's gaslit like a motherfucker.
Uh,
Dudes like telling everybody like, oh, don't be mad at him. He lives out in the poorest. He doesn't understand the good life. Of course, if you were living out in the slums and you saw us happy and rich, you would be upset just like him. Don't kill him. Even though he knows who he is and he knows
yeah.
why he's angry. It's like, don't kill him. Don't worry about it. And they all like go back. They all walk into town. Their little group while everyone outside of the castles are like, but we still hate him though. He tried to kill him, but they eventually let him get away.
Yeah.
I need to watch more of it,
I
and
do. I do too.
I wouldn't even say. I mean, I wouldn't even say I would want to rewatch it, like start it over. I'm just gonna reestablish that story because I don't remember much of it. Because again, it's one of
I
those stories you
I
have
do
to pay
kind of
attention.
like you said that first part where they talked about the betrayal from the like five heroes
Hmm.
kind of confused me in the beginning. So I probably, since I'm only one episode deep, I'll probably rewatch episode one and then keep continuing it. I did peep the Ishura vibes. I was just like, but like it does look good though. But
Yeah.
Ishura did too as well. But I did say I'd go back to it since it's in English now to watch that.
Oh, is it?
Um,
Oh,
Ishura,
Asura.
yeah,
Asura's in English. Yeah,
Ishura,
yeah.
Ishura, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I don't know where you want to put this.
I'm
Kind of
putting an
can't be
A.
ranked.
I'm
Yeah,
putting an
okay.
A.
I
I
mean,
think from
I'll give
the
you that.
couple of episodes, maybe 3 episodes I've watched, it was pretty good. It's a dark
Yeah,
fantasy. I know I like dark fantasies. They come every
yeah,
once in a blue moon, and when they do come, they're usually
yeah,
good. So
yeah,
I'm gonna put an
yeah.
A
I'll
off
give you
the
that.
strength of the first few episodes.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. We'll see how it turns out at the end. I'm definitely gonna watch this. I got a few. I only wrote down one of the ones I haven't watched that you gave the synopsis of because it does sound interesting, and then I'm sticking to this list. I'm not adding anything else to it
Good.
because I gotta finish these shows. But all right, the next one we got is actually a surpriser for me. So we got Fruit Master, Bogus Skill. So this one is essentially think of Black Clover. So this one is essentially about a young man who is coming up on the age where he's supposed to go get his skill from the Holy Church. Again, think about it like Black Clover, how when they get older, they get to go get their grimoires, go
Hmm.
choose them. And so he ends up going to the church to get his skill. Him and his girl, who he's been in love with, they've been in love really with each other, let's be honest, since they were little kids.
Hmm.
They go to get their skill. And of course, his girl, she gets Saint Holy Sword, Sword Saint. That's what it
Hmm.
is. She gets Sword Saint, and they're like, "Wow, that's the best, like one of the best, like fighting skills you can have." She's like S tier, like best. He's like, "All right, bet my turn, nigga." And I was like, "You about to get fucked?"
Master of
and,
nuts.
and yeah, and then they were just like, he got his skill, and they were like, they all looked at him like, or the
Damn,
Holy Mother looked at him, that she was just like, "Damn, nigga, I'm sorry."
that's the
And
worst.
he was like, "What?" And they're like, "You got Fruit Master." And he's like, "What the fuck? Do I shoot fruits out of my ass? Like, what is this?" And
Fruit master.
she's like, "You can taste any fruit. You can grow fruit in any season.
Hmm.
Your cropping, your projections for crops are going to be amazing."
I
And
mean,
he's
I would
like,
take that job though.
I mean, to be honest, that you can make money. But anyways,
Hmm.
he was like, and that's what he did. He was
That's
like,
he
"Fuck
literally
it."
made
Like,
money.
he was like, "This sucks, but I'll catch up to you one day. Like, I love you. I'll see you later." And she's like, "All right, bye." And they take her off. And we get the next scene of him, like, I think it's a couple years later. Couple years later, he's like farming in his own little town. He has a little helper. Um, and they're farming. And he's like, "All right, this is great. This, and that." And then he goes into town to sell his fruit, and he sees the poster of his girl. She's like an S rank adventurer with the highest S rank,
Hmm.
party, this and that. And he's like, one day I'll catch up to you. I promise. This, and that. And then, I forgot exactly like the next step that happens, but he ends up, um, he ends up cultivating what's it called, skill fruits. So
Yeah.
the fruits, or you eat the fruit. I forgot to even mention that in the beginning, sorry y'all. But how you get your skills, you eat a fruit.
Hmm.
Like you eat a fruit and that's the skill you get. Well, they specifically say that if you eat more than one fruit, you die. Like there's no, the skill you get is the skill you get till the day you die. Well, he ends up cultivating a lot of skill fruits, and he sells those skill fruits to the Holy Church, which makes him most, or I'm assuming makes most of his profits, is
Most
the skill
likely.
fruits. And his little helper, excuse me, cough is still with me. Um, the his little helper who's been helping him with the skill fruits, essentially, uh, she ends up she ends up knowing that he has a skill. She didn't know that if you she didn't know what the fruit was, but she knew he has a skill, this and that. She ends up making dinner for them, and he's eating the I think it's like pie or something, and she's like, oh yeah, I used them fruits over there to flavor it, and he's like, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck? And she's like, what? And he's like, those are skill fruits. If you eat more than 2 skill fruits, like you die. She's like, oh, I didn't know, I didn't know. And he's like, oh, I'm getting hot. And he starts getting the whole glow, and then he doesn't die. And he's like, what the fuck? And then he pulls up his chart and he has another skill. And he's like, what the hell? And then it shows like, he's like, oh, wait, I have the fruit. Maybe that means like I can eat skill fruits. I can eat more than one and not die. And the Holy Mother, when it happens, she like kind of looks off into the distance from her church, and she's like she can feel that somebody just got a skill without her knowing about it, because
Yeah.
she's the one that controls it all.
There's something about
And
her. I don't know.
yeah, oh yeah, she's a snake, bro.
I mean, outside of
And
that, I think she's like a higher force. Because how could she have known?
yeah, yeah.
You know?
There's something. Yeah, it could be something about her, but and he gets another skill, and he's like, "Oh shit! Like, this is dope. Like, I can eat as many skill fruits as I want and probably not die." And ends up going out, and he's like, "I'm gonna go be an adventurer now," because I think he got Sword God. It was
Sort
like
God.
that was his. Yeah, he got Sword God. He's like, "Well, shit, I can fight now. Like, I'm gonna go out and be an adventurer." So he goes to like register at the Adventurers Guild. He's like, "I can finally become an adventurer. This and that." And he ends up seeing his girl, and he's like, hey, it's me, like I missed you, this and that. And she's like, nigga, I don't know who you are. And he's like, the fuck, like what do you mean by that? And he's like, well, screw it. So he ends up going on an adventure. We end up seeing the fact that she's actually being mistreated by them a lot,
Mm.
and there's like a whole conspiracy, like they need to keep up appearances. They're like, this S-rank party are full of dicks, obviously. Like they're full of dicks, like they are mean to people, they don't save people, they're only in it for the glory and the riches, and obviously controlled all by the Holy Mother. And she's, I think they mentioned she tried to leave at one point, but she ended up getting like beat or something, and they brought her back or some nonsense. And um he pretty much sees that she's being mistreated, and like a few things happen in between, but he sees that she's being mistreated, and he goes like, hey bro, like I'm gonna fight you, like you fight me, I'll fight you, and guess what, like we'll form a party together, like me and her, she can join me. She's like, no, like get away from here, he's about to fight the leader of their party. And he's like, are you sure you want to do that, bro? Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like you're nothing, you're a D rank adventurer, you're E rank D rank adventurer, you're not gonna beat me. Obviously ends up whooping the dude's ass. The
With a
girl's like, no,
broom.
I'm with a broom, because
Mm.
he can transform, his sword god skill can make any weapon he's holding like just as strong as a sword, as strong
Mm.
as any sword possible. What I thought was going to happen, which would have kind of been cooler, but I'm okay they didn't do it, is like anything he picks up turns into a sword. Would have been kind of cool.
Mm.
But um, whoops his ass. The girl ends up joining him, and they end up getting the Inquisition called on him because it was an unsanctioned duel. All this other stuff starts happening, and they end up getting sent out on a quest. They say, we'll keep your party together if you go out on this quest and go, you know, like see what's going on in this area. Like in this castle, there's some necromancy, there's some weird shit going on over there. Go see that. If you survive and you accomplish the quest, we'll keep you. Obviously, it's a trap. Like, obviously, it's a fucking trap from somebody. We don't know exactly know who yet, but it's a trap. And they end up going there, and literally the funniest scene in probably the whole show so far is they end up having to fight this necromancy girl that can control dark dragons, evil people, all kinds of stuff. They end up whooping like all the regular monsters' asses, but then this like dragon, this like undead dragon comes out, and this nigga starts just popping fruits to get skills. And the first one he gets is insect repellent. And like I'm like, shit, I fucking hate bugs too. That'd be great. Um, he gets insect repellent. He's like, ah, fuck. All right, next one. Pops another fruit, and I think it's like
The
I forgot what it
sleeping. He
is.
got the sleeping fairy.
Yeah, well, no, he got two, like three before that, because he got four. Remember, he popped four fruits in that fight.
Did he?
It was like insect repellent. The next one was like, um, it was like, uh, they were all worthless
Mm.
until he got the sleep fairy, and he just was like getting hot. He was like, he was just get high. He's like, I can't keep doing it. I can't keep doing it. I'm about to die. I'm about to die. And she's like, just take another one. And he's like, no. She's like, stop. And his girl's like, stop eating the fucking fruit. You're gonna die. And they end up beating the dragon, kind of, not really, but they take a scale from the dragon, end up going back, um, talking to the Inquisition, the people who, the monarchs, or the high table essentially of all the people, show the dragon scale. They end up being able to keep their party, and that's kind of essentially where I left off there. I think the show is an A. I think it's pretty good. I think the whole idea of the fact that we're gonna get him. We know he's OP, but he's actually not OP yet, and I like
Mm,
that. Like he's gonna
definitely.
be able to. They're showing the fact that he can pop these fruits, and he's still getting like stupid skills. Like he's still getting like insect repellent. But the funny thing is, I think it's gonna come in handy at one point. So like he got insect repellent, right? I think imagine the next time they go to fight like a giant insect monster, it's gonna like be afraid of him or something. You know what I'm saying? I
I
think
mean,
that's funny.
that's how that formula usually works
Mhm.
out.
And so
Okay.
yeah, I was just gonna say, like, we still have so much more to look forward to of him popping more fruits and seeing like what the next skill is gonna be.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? This nigga did end up going into a coma from after eating 4 fruits in a row, but
I mean, you should.
he didn't die
It's
though.
supposed to be killing you.
Yeah, but
I agree with you. I think it's an A. I mean, great synopsis. The only one thing is thing that I'm interested in most is the lady, the mother who pretty much
yeah,
gives them all their powers.
something about her.
And reason why is so the girl, his little helper who made the little fruit
Yeah,
soup, and she ate a fruit too. So she
yeah.
ends
Oh
up
yeah, yeah,
getting
yeah. That's true.
like appraisal skill.
Appraisal. Yeah,
So she, and apparently in this world appraisal's OP. But
yeah.
she gets appraisal skill, and you
Can't see
think
her.
this is the
Yeah,
same skill that the mother has, but she tries to get her skill. Like look at her, she looks at other people's skills and easily able to get it.
yeah,
She looks at her and it says unable to like
yeah.
read or
Nothing.
whatever. And it's like, but shouldn't she also have appraisal?
She should
Because
have a. She
she
should have a
appraises
skill.
people when they get their powers, and then
Yeah,
she appraises them and tell them what the power they got and everything. So
yeah,
I thought that was it, but apparently it's not. So it's like,
yeah.
has she also eaten the fruit master skill, and she has
She,
multiple skills
yeah.
too?
She might have a skill like blocking,
Yeah,
like
like
a blocking of
block
appraisal.
appraisals.
She gives me Snape vibes from Harry Potter, where
Hmm.
like she acts evil or she looks suspicious, then she acts evil, but realistically she's good,
No,
if
I
that
think
makes
she bad.
sense.
I think she bad.
No, I mean I think she's gonna do bad shit, don't get me wrong, but
Hmm.
like she gives me Snape vibes where she's just like, I'm doing evil in order to do good at the end of the day, if that
Mm.
makes sense.
No, no, I hear you.
Um,
I
but
mean,
she's like
being
she is
over
sketchy.
the adventure party, like the S rank
Yeah.
party, she
Oh
bad.
well, yeah. I mean, she definitely is something going on with her because, like you said, and I definitely thought about that in the beginning. I was like, maybe she also has that fruit skill
Mm.
where but since she's had it for so long, she's eaten like hundreds of fruits, and so she
Mm.
may have a skill that's like block skill, or like she can block her own skill or block other appraisers, or
Mm.
something like that. So, because I even think, if I remember, I think when the little girl like tried to appraise her, she like glared at her, like she did like a little side eye thing, like the
Yeah, I think
holy
she looked
mother
right at her as soon as she
looked at
did
the
it.
little girl when she did it. Like she also may have a skill that's like detect other skills when they're being used.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So like there's something going on, which is something it's giving you more to look forward to, and I really like that. Like it's not just linear, every episode's an adventure. Like
Mm.
what the fuck's going on with her? How many skills what's the next skill he's gonna get? Like is he, what it's definitely giving you more, you know?
And it's funny because I actually, when I first looked at this one, or like read the synopsis, I was like, this is giving me like some knockoff One Piece vibes. Because you can only eat
Yeah,
one devil fruit, and if you eat more devil
yeah,
fruit, you
yeah,
dies. Just looking at that show, what if that show's inspiration? And then looking at like the main bad character
yeah.
in One Piece is like this monster who seems to have many powers. Is like the shadow
Mhm.
monster who has the devil fruit of the similar devil fruit powers of multiple devil fruit users.
Yeah.
What if it's like the same situation where she's basically harvesting people to
Maybe.
give the ones that she want to have certain powers while giving everyone else she
Maybe
doesn't
else
deem
can grow.
worthy to have these weak powers?
Well, then that would kind of, so I was gonna say what if she can look at skill fruits and know exactly what
Yeah,
fruit it is? But that would negate our idea that she has the fruit power because she wouldn't have gave it to him unless she just didn't think he would know that
I
he
mean,
could do that.
no one knows. Like this is a
No, but I'm
complete
saying
secret.
if she had it, right?
Yeah.
I would think personally, just to like negate any chances of it happening,
Mm,
I would get rid of those fruits. If I saw there was a fruit skill in there, I would fucking toss that shit in the trash because
facts.
this dude could end up becoming OP. He could
Mm.
end up like me and be able to stand against me. So like if she knows what the fruits are, like which skill they have, then I don't think she would have gave that to him on
But
purpose.
looking at her interaction, like when he got the skill and her explaining
Yeah.
everything to everybody, it's like in this world is already established. If you eat more than one, you'll die.
Yeah.
And then she repeated it again when he ate his fruit. He's like, "Oh, can I try another one? If you eat another one, you're
Yeah.
going to die." So
Maybe she just
I
tried to
get
scare him away
where
from
you
the
saying is like, if
yeah.
she knew that, why even bother having it in there? What if she just off the whole strength of just no way he will
He's
eat
gonna eat.
another one?
Yeah.
But then he became a
I
fruit
don't know.
farmer,
Because I mean
so it was
it's kind
possible.
of like yeah, I mean it's kind of like you probably didn't think you was if she had the fruit skill, for
Hmm.
example, it'd be like you didn't think you were gonna fucking eat another one either. Like, and you did. So
Hmm.
like people been saying that for what, centuries now, where if you eat another one you'll die. Somebody told you that. And so you still fucking did. So
Agree.
there and then again, like you said, he ended up becoming a skill fruit farmer. So like it was possible. Like
It's the only way it was going to happen eventually.
it was possible. So but I think it's a good show. I'm gonna keep watching it. I think there's a lot to look forward
Where'd
to.
you put it?
All right, the last one we got,
No,
Magic
where'd you put
Maker.
that one on the list though?
I put it at the bottom of A. I didn't
Oh,
know exactly where you wanted to put it. I mean,
oh, it's. I would say
I think it's
second or third. I could see
I
second or third.
I can see third. I can see third. Yeah,
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, third. All right, so the last one we got is Magic Maker: How to Make Magic in Another World. I
Mm.
have not watched this one as well, so go ahead and take this last one away, sir.
I'm the connoisseur of these cute animes. This one again, Isekai. I love my
Hmm,
isekais.
sweet nothing.
So and it's very interesting because he actually has a life before the isekai. In his original world, he was, I think he got to the age of 30 years old. And it's a whole thing because I think I guess it's like in our world too, but it's like
Mm,
this: if you don't have sex and
mm-hmm.
all the way up until the age of 30, then you're going to get like sage power. Like, and he had
That's
basically
their virgin.
hinged his whole life off of being a virgin and not
He
having
get no
sex
bitches.
until 30 so he can unlock his mage powers and have magic. Well, he turned 30, he doesn't have magic. He ends up dying. Maybe I think he has like a heart attack. Like that night when he realized he didn't get magic, he ends up having a heart attack and
Oh, from
goes in.
just being nervous?
Yeah, because he like his whole life he's been telling
Oh,
himself, when I turn 30, I'm going to
30
get
years,
powers.
30 years with no bitches
No
for nothing.
bitches. Like that's traumatic as fuck.
Just maidenless for 30 years,
And
bro.
on his own choice, and then he
Yeah.
dies because of it. Well, not
That would be
because he didn't
funny.
have sex.
Did they do this? But did they ever? This would be funny if they did. Like they showed him growing up, and there was these women that were just coming after him and wanted him. Did they show that? Did
They
they
did
do
show
that?
that.
That'd been funny if
That
that'd
would
been funny if
that's
they showed him
unnecessary.
growing up, and there's these fine ass women that
Nah,
wanted him, and he was just like,
I'm gonna
I
be a
can't.
mage.
I'm gonna be a mage, and then 30
Magic
years
over
old hits, and he's
bitches.
just like, oh, no bitches and no magic.
Magic
Damn,
over bitches.
that's crazy.
So he
That makes him
dies
OP.
and he gets Etsukai, which is his troubles aren't even over yet. He dies, he gets Etsukai into a world where magic does not exist. So it's
Oh,
like there's a
love
scene,
that for you.
first or second episode, and he's like talking to his father. He's like a kid, as you can see in the picture.
Mm,
He's talking to his father because he's trying to like investigate, like, is magic a thing in this world? Because when he gets Etsukai, it's not like Etsukai into a baby. He gets
mm.
Etsukai into a child's body. So he's like talking to his father, like, "Hey, does like monsters exist in this world?" He's like, "Yeah, monsters exist in this world." Okay. Does like adventuring and the guilds and stuff like that adventures? He's like, "Oh yeah, definitely." It's like, "Oh, okay, good, good.
But there's
How about
magic.
magic?" And he's like, "What?
What's
Magic?
magic?
Like fire, electricity, like."
Yeah.
He's like,
Earth,
what is
wind,
that?
fire, air. Avatar?
What is
Everything?
this?" And he's like, "Are you serious? I've been reincarnated into a world where all these things exist: monsters, adventure guilds, all this,
That's
but
insane.
no magic." So he
Still no bit.
understands. So fast forward a little bit, his sister, like after listening to him and how disappointed he got after his father confirmed there is no magic, she takes him out to like a pond, like in the evening, and
Mhm.
on this pond, like they waited for a few seconds, but then it's like these magic balls start coming up from the pond, like
Uh,
floating from the water,
yeah.
and he's like, "What is this? This feels like magic." So
Hmm.
this show is about him investigating and doing his due diligence to discover magic, and he does. So
Yeah.
first he discovers that the fish in the water, because of their mating rituals, it creates these magic spheres that float from the water whenever
Hmm.
they're in their mating season. And then he starts to find out that, okay, it's the love that the fish have. Because of
Yeah.
that love, it creates a magical energy.
Yeah.
And then he learns to
Yeah. It does.
basically make the magic energy come out of his palm. And then from the magic energy just coming from his palm, he starts to interact with things such as like actual elemental fire, water, things like that, just to
Yeah.
see like how it interacts. And eventually he creates fire magic. He creates lightning magic. I don't think he has created water magic so far, but he's accomplishing these things by simply one expressing what it is he's trying to do to his sister, and she helps him out, and then eventually he starts to express to his father what he wants, and his father's like overly trying to help him because again, in this world magic doesn't exist, but he just trusts that his son is onto something, and then he shows and prove by
Yeah.
creating thunder magic, creating fire magic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it it's going really well. It's going
Okay.
really well, and it's there are fighting. There's fighting scenes like they get attacked by a goblin earlier, like episode 3 or 4, something like that, and he has to like use his power to kill it. Swordsmanship is the means of self
Mhm.
defense in this world, but he's now trying to create magic so that he can also use magic as his self defense. Of
Yeah.
course, his whole dream, his whole life was for have
Yeah.
magic. And his sister is like, she's a swordsman, and she's like, well, my dream is to become strong enough to protect you, and my dream is to be strong enough with magic to protect you. So it's a really good show. If you are
Oh, nice.
like, if you read the name of it, Magic Maker, and you're like, oh, that's an interesting topic, then you'll like the show. If you
Yeah.
look at it, you're like, Magic Maker, so is it not about like dungeons and fighting and adventuring and stuff like that? There's fighting in there, there's adventuring in there, but that's not the focus. The focus is him actually tediously figuring out, investigating through science experiments. Like it would be a whole episode of him just experimenting just to be
Yeah.
able to create it. And then by the end of the episode, he cries because he's able to accomplish creating this type of magic. So
I've been like, I'm getting bitches now. I can't. I gotta get. I gotta get pussy.
because again, we've always had this conversation. We are ranking it to what we like. I think it's a
Hmm.
really good show. I think it is a, and I would probably put it at the second one right after the Guild Receptionist.
Okay. I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I mean that wraps it up right there. So we got a lot of A's, 2 S's, and 3 B's. I mean, this is how it usually goes, and I'm glad again this season we got a lot of good bangers. We'll see how it turns out because, like we said, things can go up and down,
Go either
buddy.
way.
I mean, there's things in this season that are definitely straddling a line right now. So we'll see exactly how they go throughout this. If you stuck around this far, we appreciate it, you guys, for being here. Again, check this season out. I mean, keep watching the shows. We'll be coming back in another 5 or 6 weeks to do our seasonal wrap up. So be sure or be steady for that. If you haven't watched, Witcher Sirens of the Deep, go ahead and watch it because we're going to be doing a review on that next week.
Watch it so we can talk about it next week.
Yeah, because we gonna talk about that fucking Disney flick that I just watched. But we appreciate you guys. Again, like, subscribe, leave a comment, ring the notification bells down below so you don't miss out on our next episodes. We love you. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.
Peace.